I feel I'm so close, I can taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever saw. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
Folks, if you didn't know, it's officially July 1st. Half of the year, 2025, is already gone. I said this, famous poet once said, you know, you'll turn 65 years old overnight. Time flies. It's a very famous Iranian poet, if you guys don't recognize him. He has a podcast he does with a few of his friends, and they fight every once in a while, but it's pretty interesting. Anyways, happy July. And the greatest day that turned a country into the greatest story ever, 4th of July, is around the corner. We got some special surprises here on how you and I can FaceTime with each other with the group. So stay tuned for that. But let's go through some of the stories that we got going on here. Remember last week when I made a bunch of comments about Reza Pahlavi? A lot of the supporters of Reza Pahlavi fell into 3 different camps. Those who said, finally somebody said what we were thinking. Those who were furious with me. I got to show you some of this meme games and video reaction. They're so funny, and they were. I'm impressed by the level of creativity. And then some of them who are in the middle saying what's going to be happening with Iran, so we'll talk about that as well. I had somebody that told me, they said, you know, he has 79% approval rating in the streets of Iran. I said, oh, okay, I got some thoughts on that. Maybe we can talk about that. I've had so many phone calls. It's been very interesting. Trump and Musk, it was quiet. Nobody was saying anything. And then all of a sudden, Vinny, the big, beautiful bill passes, and then Musk tweets about it, and then Trump responds back with a heavyweight tweet, and even floating the idea of deporting and getting Doge that was started by Elon and Vivek to go after Elon Musk, which it doesn't seem like that's slowing down anytime soon. Aside from that, the China deal, Scott Besson has some thoughts on the new China deal, the trade deal. Howard Lutnick has got some thoughts on what could happen there. Then, aside from that, you got Trump reveals the red line that would lead him to bomb Iran again. Here we go. Condoleezza Rice, ex-Secretary of State, calls U.S. strikes on Iran a shot in the arm for American credibility. And Vinny definitely has a lot to say about this to Condoleezza, so we'll come to Vinny here in a minute. Stunning number of Gen Z Americans side with Iran against Israel. Interesting, Gen Z. Adam's got thoughts on that. Trump's energy chief warns U.S. grid reaching its limit as administration works to avert train wreck. GE applicants to move washing machine production from China to Kentucky for $490 million investment, which is kind of cool. Business coming over here. We like that. Housing crisis deepens as 47 major metros areas now require home buyers to spend more than 30% of their income. Summer gas prices its lowest price in 4 years, despite Middle East tensions. Golden age stocks soar to record highs as inflation stays cool. Trump forges Middle East peace and tax deals gains steam. Buy now, pay later loans now impact American credit scores. Author blasts harmful Supreme Court ruling allowing parents to opt kids out of reading their LGBTQ books. By the way, it was a pretty good last 10 days. Vinny kept saying, and he's right, Trump's had a pretty good last 10 days. Kamala Harris's potential gubernatorial run isn't exciting anyone, California donors say. But if you're thinking about supporting, we'll give you the link to go support Kamala for some of you guys. I want to see that. DeMaio warns California gas prices could hit $10 per gallon this summer. Why millionaires are planning to escape from New York. This new mayor guy, he said something in an interview that I'm going to show you what other person said many, many years ago in a famous book to know what this guy really believes in. And when he was asked about billionaires and how he feels about billionaires, you have to hear what this man had to say. And he's on track to be the mayor of New York City. Can you imagine, like, if he beats Adams and a couple other guys? So that's that story there. Then we have Trump attacks Fed again, an open letter calling for lower rates. And Caroline Leavitt accuses CNN of encouraging violence against ICE agents with new tracking gap. DOJ ends investigation into Muslim-centered Epic City project in North Texas. To see the numbers of what happened with Jaguar sales. Folks, I want you to think about this. Imagine you do a commercial and you spend millions of dollars to have your sales skyrocket. Would you be happy if the results were up 10%? You'd say, yeah, okay, maybe not, 10%. What if it's even? What if you lose 10%? What if your sales drops 25%? What if your car sales drops 50% year over year?
Wow.
But what if your car sales drops 97% year over year? That happened to Jaguar. Tom, that is catastrophic. Last night, me, Tom, Tikran, and Vinny stayed up till 12:30 to come up with a program we'll be launching here today in a few hours to the insurance company. It's so exciting. The campaign's going to be explosive for us.
Incredible.
But imagine you come up with a campaign that destroys Jaguar by 97% in cars. People don't want to buy the car. That's embarrassing. Vinny's got a lot of thoughts on that. So there's Tom. Senate mega bill would explode debt and kick 11.8 million people off Medicaid. Our fiscal house is basically on fire. We're going to talk about that because there's a chart that Mario Nafal put to say who the big, beautiful bill benefits and who it doesn't benefit. And there's a few topics we have to talk about that. Okay, having said that, what's around the corner is 4th of July, okay? And one of the things we love, we went at the Yankees game last weekend on Saturday. We talked to hundreds of people just walking by. We're at the beaches the last week. We're at a couple different places, hanging out with a few people coming by. The range of people that follow The Future Looks Bright, it's absolutely amazing. Seeing people in airports wearing Angry Patriot gear, Future Looks Bright gear, all over the place. Exciting times. And it's 4th of July, and we love America, and we love freedom. And if you do as well, you love the brand, Vitamin, you love America, you believe in Future Looks Bright, this is a way for you to support your brands. This is why we don't take sponsorship money. We do it through the businesses that we run. And by the way, we are shameless capitalists. We don't hide it. We believe in capitalism. We believe this is the way to make the money so you don't have to go in, have to be loyal to somebody that's giving you money. Our loyalty is to you. We talk to you raw, open. And if you like it, you don't like it, great. You get to connect us and say, Pat, I disagree with you. I can't believe you said this. And if you agree, great. We talk about it as well. So this weekend, 4th of July, we have a blowout sale up to 60%. On top of that, we have the women's line that also came out. Rob, if you go to the website, there's a women's line as well that we have out there. If you go on the collection and you go to ladies collection, ladies, you asked for it. We now have some gear. A big influence of this is Jennifer David, who said, we need to get some ladies gear. Future Looks Bright. I will also give a shout out to Kim because Kim's been telling me that she wears the short sleeves when she goes golfing. So thank Jen and Kim for a lot of this. So anybody that places an order over $400 of merch, myself, Vinnie, and Tom will be FaceTiming you. And I swear to God, if anybody decides to return anything, Adam will be FaceTiming you.
Yes.
It's true.
He already volunteered for that, so we appreciate Adam's support for doing that. He's the best retention guy we have in the company. But $400 will be FaceTiming you guys to
Don't
talk
make
to
me
you.
come over to your house.
And he will, buddy. He will.
I will.
All right. Go to vtmerch.com. Place your order if you believe Future Looks Bright. Get some of the gear. Sport it everywhere you go. All right. Rob, let's start off with the first topic. So Elon Musk, after the big, beautiful bill passes, which in the big, beautiful bill, matter of fact, go to Mario Nafal's tweet from earlier this morning if you could. Mario posted a tweet about the chart that Vinny texted all of us in the group chat that says, hey, the big, beautiful bill, if you look at it, what it's going to be doing, and it's really going to be benefiting the people at the top, not the people at the bottom. The people at the bottom are going to take a dip. This is a continuation of Trump's bill in 2017. It was in the text, Rob, if you want to look it up. And so that's caused a lot of conversations. It's officially at the last place of it. Now, obviously, Musk was not supportive of it. He wasn't happy about it. There's a lot of different questions that are being asked. This is the tweet here that was up there. Trump's tax bill hits low-income Americans, boosts the top. New data from Yale Budget Lab shows the bottom 20% loses $560 a year, while the top 20% gains over $6,000. Middle and upper earners see smaller boosts, but the lower earners take the only hit. The gap comes from tax breaks at the top and tax cuts to Medicaid and food aid at the bottom. This is Bloomberg that shows that. You got the top 20%, the upper 20%. You got the middle 20%, lower 20%, and the bottom 20%. Tom, when you see this, the average person reads this and they're like, wait a minute, this bill is to help the rich and it hurts the poor. What do you say to people that say that?
Well, I look at it and I say this. First of all, you're looking at analysis that comes from the Yale Budget Lab. Yeah, this impartial cesspool of liberal thought known as the Yale Budget Lab is coming out with the position. And it's similar. You can take a lot of spin on a lot of these. And I respect Mario Nafal. I respect him quite a bit. So, but what I see here is that there's a deception here. And what the deception is you have to remember that the tax cuts are not being cut. So some people, when they present analysis, Pat, they're presenting the tax cuts like as a benefit for wealthy people on the old tax. Now, when I say wealthy people, I'm talking about business owners and two-income households. So they're not going to have, remember the tax cuts are going to expire, Pat, right? But this bill makes the tax cuts continue. So part of the benefit for the so-called wealthy is the continuation of the tax cuts. And then when you get down to the bottom 20%, what also is going on here is the federal government has been covering Medicaid for the states. The states call up the federal government and they say, hey, I'm short of money. Like, oh, California, oh, you know, I had poor water policy and I had wildfires and I had all these costs and I need this money and that money. So people are claiming that there's going to be changes in Medicaid programs and availability. I just think you have to look at it very carefully. And one of my takes is you should don't think of it as wealthy. You should want the business owners and people that are creating jobs and creating opportunity in the economy. You should want them. And by the way, it's $6,000 a year, which is not a lot. So I saw it on the tax angle. I saw it on this. And I think we have to be careful with headlines, just like with polls. Vinny and I were talking about that the other night, how one poll would say 60% of people, 40% of people don't like this. Wait a minute. Well, that means 60% or a majority did like something. So there's a lot of spin that goes in it.
The question is, when that was launched, this morning I asked Matteo and Vinny a question. We're having breakfast. I said, how much money do you think we spend every year on entitlement programs? And Matteo, I think, said $78 billion. I think you said $34 billion, right? And Rob, if you go on ChatGPT and you type in, this is ChatGPT, how much money do we spend every year on entitlement programs? Look what it says.
Like Federal USA?
Yeah, very basic. Just how much money do we spend every year on entitlement programs? Rob, are you able to do it or it's not?
My computer's locking up. Give me
okay.
1 second.
So when you ask the question, it breaks it down for you. If I go right now, how much money does United States spend on entitlement programs every year? Watch this. This is your money that you're paying, folks, okay? This is how much money that goes to entitlement programs every year. When I pulled it up, it said out of 6.3 trillion, what was it? 3.4 trillion goes to entitlement programs. That's a big amount of money that goes towards entitlement programs.
Yeah.
Do you want that? Do you not want that? See what it says right there. Okay, federal is $6.9 trillion. Social Security, $1.2 trillion. $900 billion Medicare. $870 billion Medicaid. SNAP and income, $400 billion to SNAP and income support. SNAP is welfare and all the other stuff. Net interest to payment, $663 billion. Summary, $3.8 trillion, including entitlement interest. Entitlement programs alone, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, accounts for $3 trillion or more annually. Here's a challenge with this, folks, they have to be thinking about, which is very complicated to do. I was telling the story earlier this morning, and I'm going to show you Elon Musk's tweet on this and how Trump reacted just this morning, by the way, not in the friendliest way. I had an old guy that was working with me in the insurance business. His name was Ferdad. And very nice guy, charming guy, great storyteller. He was in LA, very creative, becomes a very well-known designer for high-end homes, Vinny. And I think I was telling you the story briefly earlier. He goes from making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year to all of a sudden, all the wealthy people in Beverly Hills are calling him to come and design. This is 03, 05, 06, where the market is hot in LA. Everyone's making money. He nets $1.6 million in a year. Never made this kind of money before. You know what he starts doing? He starts giving parents $8,000 a month, $12,000 a month, aunt $8,000 a month, relatives $8,000 a month. He's just paying the money because he thinks this $150 a month, $140 a month is going to be coming forever. And then all of a sudden, 2007 comes around. That $1.6 million goes to $100,000 a year.
So he turned himself into a broke government.
But you know what ends up happening? Every one of his relatives ended up hating him.
Unbelievable, because they felt entitled.
That's exactly the point.
Wait, I can't remember the list, but can you repeat what the 4 stages are when you give money to somebody? Starts with appreciation. I don't remember the other 4, but that's exactly what you're talking about.
And it's funny. I mean, we should bring that back up because we've talked about this before. I'd love to look that up.
But it's his fault, right? But it's his fault.
It's his fault, and this goes back to it's America's fault. Yep. The more and more we launch these temporary entitlement programs, all you're doing is delaying to get somebody to hate you in the future. Period. Now watch this. This is Elon Musk, Rob, can you pull up Elon Musk's tweet on the big, beautiful bill? The big, beautiful bill, Elon Musk says, every member of Congress who campaigned, is this the first one? This is the second one, Rob. Go to the first one. He had 2 tweets, right? There you go. It's obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record of $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Big Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. Rob, go a little bit lower to see the comments. That's 26.3 million. So then how can it call you a Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history, right? Alex Jones, it's bad. Andrew Yang, building it now. Keep going a little bit lower, keep going a little bit lower. Okay, can we make Elon president? No, we can't. So go, and it just kind of Grok answers the question. Then go to his next tweet, what he says after that. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And they will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. And guess who has to respond? A man named Donald Trump. Go to that one. Go to the tweet first, and then you'll play the video. Here's a tweet. Elon Musk knew long before he was so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. He's claiming that's what Elon is upset about. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. He's right. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would have a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at this big money to be saved. And then here's what he said this morning, and then, Vinny, I'm going to come to you, and Adam, I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
This morning, he's being asked the question about Elon Musk, and this is what he said. Go for it, Rob.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Oh, my
It's a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, you know? So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
Vinny, thoughts?
Okay, well, can we be honest with each other? I mean, Elon is not wrong. Okay, let's just be completely honest. But besides the EV credits and all that stuff, I sent Rob this chart. And I want to know what you guys think about this. Look, like, regardless of who is in our office, look at that. National debt by year, PBD. Can you see that? And then, Rob, I sent you another one that's Statista. U.S. debt rises irrespective of who is in the White House. How can we not? Like, I want to ask you guys, Pat. You guys, I did it in the PBD podcast prep text. Every year, if you put the federal government in charge, somebody wrote, in the Sahara Desert, in 5 years, there'd be a shortage of sand. It's not stopping. And that chart that's going up, it keeps going up, it keeps going up. And then you have people that are doing the bills. I just saw this. That big, beautiful bill that everybody was talking about. How does this happen? Yesterday, in the Senate, they failed to remove illegal aliens from Medicaid because the parliamentarian changed the vote requirement to 60 votes instead of 51 last minute. Okay? So I'm genuinely curious.
Who is the parliamentarian?
I don't.
Do we have a name on that?
I forgot. I don't know his name.
That's a great catch, Vinny.
That's the guy, right, Tom?
They changed voting rules in the Senate to get. Sometimes you can get things done in our government by changing a voting rule because you have the power to change the rule regardless of what the number of seats for the Republicans, Democrats,
but we own the House and the Senate. So what is going on? Because I understand the feud and I get Elon's pissed and I get that rivalry right now. But at the same token, Tommy, we are going further and further and further in debt. We're giving money to, by the way, and I looked it up. You know how much money that is for Medicaid and all that stuff for the illegals? It's in the billions. It's in the billions and billions of dollars every year, and they're still fighting for illegals, and illegals won. Again.
I read it's almost $40,000 a year for 100 million Americans. That if you just said, okay, 100 million Americans on the entitlement programs, and you take that, I think Pat said 3.2 trillion is basically
Yeah.
$40,000 a year. Basically, you're giving a salary to 1/3 of America.
Exactly.
Adam,
So-
your thoughts on this? Your thoughts on this? Because I get what you're saying. You're saying every year we're getting more debt and all that other stuff. But the question then becomes, is that why he's upset? Is he upset because of that? Is that really what's causing him to get upset? Or is it because it's the mandates? What percentage is the mandates?
I
Once
think
he saw that the mandates were not in there because the additional $7,500, whatever the $7,500 was, it's no longer in there. It's like, wait a minute, I campaigned for you $250 million. Now that's not in there. And then now you're picking on how big the bill is. Would Musk have picked on the debt increasing if the $7,500 write-offs was in there? I don't know. That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Good point. Which I don't. He's being selfish in that in that context, but in the bigger picture, he's like, look how much money we're spending to get everybody to be on his side.
Everybody can always do that.
I'm with Pat, and I'll tell you why. There's something below the surface. Everybody looks at Tesla and they say, ha, ha, ha. People have more insurance on their Teslas because the insurance companies have put like a 15 to 20% premium on Teslas because of the risk of vandalism.
Yeah.
Right. So you have that's additional risk of loss.
Yes.
If you live in certain zip codes, you're at risk for that. So, Tesla owners have more insurance. Maybe they'll sell their cars. He's selling less cars. So let's just think of it that he has two air hoses, right? One air hose that's giving him profits through the air hose is his cars. The other is they've been working for 7 years to build the supercharger network. And 2 years ago, they went nuts trying to sign deals with every other car company. So if you bought an EV from Cadillac or an EOS from Mercedes-Benz, you were having in America a 60% chance of getting electricity into the car from Elon Musk when you went to service stations and recharge places. So guess what? When you pull the EV mandate, it's not just the Tesla cars. It's the rest of the auto industry is selling less EVs, and those EVs aren't plugging into all those electricity stations. That's his other air hose, because Tesla, below the surface, is really an energy distribution company long-term, more than it is a car company. And the EV mandate, it steps on both sides of that.
Adam, thoughts?
So there's so much to unpack here. I mean, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object? That's Trump versus Elon. A couple quick points. Number one, PBD, you just did a video about the power of relationships. Possibly you called it your greatest investment you can ever make, right? Something to that effect?
Yep.
Okay. So relationships matter. You know, Pat, my sort of skill set is, all right, you guys should talk. All right, how you doing? Getting people together. That's a very important thing. Soft power, soft skills. Relationships matter. There's 3 types of relationships, in my opinion. Number one, there's lifelong friends, what I would call no matter what. Dude, I've known this guy for 30 years. No matter what, I have his back. Okay, cool. We understand that. Number 2 are sort of newer, valuable friends or business relationships. It's beneficial. There's shared values. There's money to be made. There's trust. There's a lot of congruence right there, right? Much like the people on this podcast. The third thing is a transactional relationship. And flip a coin which direction it could go. It could go north and you can make money, or it can go south and you can lose money, or it can be a little bit of both. In my opinion, this Trump and Elon relationship is number 3. It's very transactional. Trump needed Elon for a little bit of money, a little funding for the campaign. Elon needed Trump because he couldn't no longer endorse the Democrats, and he aligned himself with Trump, dark MAGA, everything that happened with that. But what we're seeing is the fallout of a relationship that's not actually natural. This is a transactional relationship, and it could go very ugly from here. Just when we thought it was going to get, the ugliness was behind us when Elon apologized, all of a sudden they're both willing to die on this big, beautiful hill, and we'll see where it goes.
But guys, this isn't freaking a news flash. This isn't my forte. This lane, Tom. The numbers, though, this isn't me.
Math is not your forte.
No, Adam, 2 + 2, chicken. Listen, but from what I'm looking at, from the charts and the spending and all the stuff and all the Senate, Tom, we're going bankrupt, okay? And it's like you're talking about the numbers. Just look at the stats. Our Defense Department budget is $1 trillion a year. Interest payments on the national debt exceeds the Defense Department budget. I understand. It's just, what are we doing to try to change it? Yeah.
Can I just real quick?
Yeah, that's $1 trillion a year in interest, and it's going up every single year.
PBD, you ask the question all the time, what hill are you willing to die on? What hill are you willing to die on? For me, save that money. The whole debt and the deficit is a major, major factor for me. And I see what's going on here, and we're going to be saddled with debt for generation and generation and generation. So I'm totally with you on this, and I'd like to see how the sausage is made on this. But here's one thing I keep hearing anytime they talk about the big, beautiful bill or any bill. Tom, tell me if you hear this. I always hear these two words, dynamic scoring. No, you're not factoring in dynamic scoring. Well, what about the dynamic scoring? What happens if we have all this money, but you don't know what's going to happen? It's kind of like you guys were at the Yankees game this weekend. You ever been to a game in Colorado, baseball game in Colorado?
Yes,
Colorado Rockies?
Yeah.
Someone says, you go to, usually this guy hits, a couple home runs a year, but in Colorado, I mean, this guy's like a slugger of the year. He's an MVP candidate.
Mile high.
Because the Mile High Stadium, the ball travels further. You have the, wind at your back, that whole type of thing. Dynamic scoring, what they're basically saying is you have to factor in other factors that can lead for the economy growing, such as more revenue coming in, more people investing. So it's one of those things you never hear what the dynamic scoring actually brings to the table until it actually happens. Have you heard this term before? Dynamic scoring, Tom?
Yes, I have. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like if Adam and I own a baseball team, Miami Marlins, and we want to sign a pitcher, and there's this pitcher who has like a 3.8 ERA, and Adam says, hey, Tom, remember, he was pitching last year in Colorado. So you really got to take like half. So, really? He's really like 3.2. Well, you know what? That's better than we thought. Yeah. And look at him. He was 3.1 away from Colorado when they were pitching on the road. And I would say, Adam, you're right. We need to look at dynamic scoring for this player if we're going to bring him to Miami, which is sea level and it's a little bit humid. He's actually going to do better down here, assuming he's the same player next year as this year. So the dynamic scoring, I agree with, because it also, that's kind of what I was talking about on the tax side. Right? On the tax side, you can't just say, oh, it's a gift. It's not. It's a continuation of the tax cuts. So I kind of agree with Adam. I just wish the headlines were more honest about it.
Yeah.
And there is a place you could go
example.
And get.
Let me show this, Tom. So media forced to admit Trump's tariffs are working as revenue spike. Remember how a few months ago everything was about tariffs are bad, tariffs are bad, all this bad stuff with tariffs? All right, no problem. Watch this here. If you read this story that just came out with, this is Zero Hedge, there's a video on the bottom to play, but I want to read the fourth paragraph. The U.S. has collected over, you ready, $121 billion in revenue from tariffs on imported goods. And despite claims that tariffs are a tax on the consumer, prices on the shelf have not risen so far. Opponents of the policy are struggling to explain the data. Some still argue that disaster is right around the corner, while others are acknowledging that there's a potential payoff to U.S. debt over time if the amount duties remain in place for long term. Go a little bit low, Rob, if you could, on the story. Click on this video here. This is CNBC. Click on a CNBC forced. Okay, play this one if you could. There you go. Fantastic. Okay, go for it.
Look how much we've been collecting in revenues.
This
and I
is
did this
CNBC.
in part because Wilfred's here.
Holy
and we can talk about
moly,
the
look at
UK
that.
trade
Whoa.
deal. But this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly.
Look at her. She doesn't want to say
it. Hurts. It hurts.
Especially, we haven't seen it.
She doesn't know how to say it. Look
at
it. Say he was right.
Look how much
Just say it. Pause it right there.
You know her producer's
right.
like, her
Yeah,
producer's
and
like,
that's
stop.
Sarah Eisen, who kind of flies the same plane that Aaron Ross Sorkin does.
So
it's not our
dynamic,
buddy.
what would you say? Dynamic
Dynamic
scoring.
PBD.
William Howard Taft, Jennings, whatever.
Who cares?
Who
This
cares?
spirit is
Tariffs
dead.
are working. Is what it is, right? But you are right when it comes down to the dynamic scoring part. That validates exactly what Adam is saying. The fact that we're not going to know if this is going to work or not. Anytime you come up with a new comp plan, okay, in a company, Tom, how long does it take to see if the comp plan is working?
Usually takes about 1 quarter, not longer than that.
That's
but it takes
how long
about
it
3
takes.
months.
That's
because
right.
Month 1, like Pat introduces something for the insurance and they adjust. Month 2, we start to see the majority of people using it. By month 3, everybody's now trained and on it. And all of a sudden we see numbers really move and say, Pat, you were right.
So 90 days is what it takes. So roughly 90 days is how long it takes to see if a new comp plan works or not. How long ago was it when these tariffs was announced? About 90 days ago. Guess what? They're starting to work and we're seeing results. Adam.
PBD, I just want to add to this. You see the story right here where it says Wall Street economist who ripped Trump admits that the president may have outsmarted us all on tariffs. Do you see that story?
Yeah, of course I do.
So let me just give a little feedback on that. So Torsten Slock, chief economist at investment giant Apollo Global Management. How big is Apollo, Tom? I mean, massive, right?
Big.
Who warned in April that President Trump's tariffs could trigger a recession by this summer, now fully admits that Trump might have outsmarted us all. So they say, like, if you don't got haters, you ain't popping, right? You know this, Vinny. So they say, like, let the haters be your motivators until you turn into your appreciators. That's what's going on here right now with Trump, is that you have some of the biggest names coming out and saying, Trump might have been right about the tariff situation right now. And what we're seeing is sort of like the people giving the, hey, my bad, I didn't really realize everything you said, that might take a little time. And then, Vinny, I know you mentioned this. Trump might have just had, low-key, the best week he's ever had.
2 weeks out of 10, 12 days. 12 days.
Okay, what an amazing 10 to 12 days he's had. Speaking of peace deals, I mean, not too long ago, India and Pakistan were on nuclear war. That ended real quickly. Israel and Iran, who don't know what they're doing, all of a sudden there's a peace treaty holding. We'll see what happens with that. He solidified having his allies, our allies, back at NATO. Tom, confirm this. I think they by in the next 10 years said that they'd go from 2% to 5% on their national defense.
Yep, that's exactly right. It goes back to his first term when he was yelling across the table at Germany, pay your fair share. Well, guess what?
Exactly.
It's happening.
Yeah, and by the way,
China, India, the border, the NASDAQ, stock market, inflation cooling, wage growth going higher, Supreme Court just ruled in his favor.
Twice.
Border shutdown. I mean, Trump just had the best 2 weeks he's ever had.
And guess what? Gas prices 4-time low. Peace broke out between Rwanda and the Congo, which they were trying to say that he didn't do it. And they also ruled the SCOTUS that he could deport illegals to third-party countries. He has been, besides the, signal and noise, there's noise, but he is the signal, the numbers, everything is going pretty damn well for him, and it hurts for them to report.
And just to add one thing to Adam's list, I'm sorry. Remember, all those Supreme Court decisions was
we're going to get to that, guys. We're going to get to that, guys. You guys want to do all the stories within 30 seconds. We're going to get to that. So hold it. Foreplay, guys. It takes a couple hours. Relax. No, I got to give it to Robin. Relax.
Sorry. It was a long weekend.
PB, I just got to say this. I'm a little excited. I miss you guys, man. You guys, you're out there having vacation. I'm in the studio by myself.
You're not by yourself. You got Tom right behind you as a statue with
Tom's
Rocky.
over there. Rocky's
look, say hi to Tom's belly real quick.
Tom's on the left with the arms up.
It's disappeared, by the way. Tom's belly has disappeared from last year to this year. It's no longer the same. All right, let's go to the next
Pat,
one.
We're just trying to say you want to get through a lot of stories and everything. I finished my second cup of coffee. Any more espresso?
By the way, check this out. While we're going through this, I want to go through this socialist, Democrat, whatever you want to call it, in New York, and we're going to get to that. Forgive, I was reading the teleprompter, and I totally screwed it up. But you guys don't see this. We have like 17 teleprompters here. Everything we're saying is scripted. It's all just been written here.
Never off the
cuff.
cuff.
Can you guys fix the typing grab? It's a little bit off. I can't see the font.
We got all this stuff at CNN at their garage sale.
It's a low blow, Tom.
But in the middle of it, you know what I love, Vinny? I love it when we have people that are watching the podcast that are future leaders. Okay, somebody just tweeted this literally right now. I want to give this kid a shout out. I said, smart kid, future leader, Andrew Glonta. Teach him young. Okay, look what he's doing right there. He has his son watching a podcast. That's a good daddy. Andrew. There you go, buddy boy. Can we go on his face so we can give a shout out to Andrew real quick? See where Andrew's at. Go on his profile, zoom in a little bit. That's a good daddy right there from West Palm Beach. Firefighter in real estate. My man. Okay.
Nice.
All right, so let's go into the story with New York. Thank
they
God
could
he
have
doesn't
used
live
him in
New York.
L.A. as firefighter and real estate. Wow.
That's a double whammy.
Damn.
New York, folks. This guy, Mamdani, beats Andrew Yang. Then Bunch of videos are coming out. Rob, can you go to the other one first, if you don't mind? The other
Andrew
one is
Yang?
if you Andrew Cuomo, not Andrew Yang, but him as well. But Andrew Cuomo,
Beat him too.
he's being interviewed here and asked if he believes billionaires should exist. Okay, I want you to listen to his answer, Rob. If you can do it on Twitter, so we can. Where did you go to, Rob? You went to a completely different place.
I have a different clip of him. I have.
Just go to my Twitter account, Rob. Just go to my Twitter account. It's 2 videos that I have there. That's what I'm saying. If you just go there, you'll find it.
It's like last night, right?
Yeah, he's being interviewed and he's being asked about billionaires. Should billionaires exist? This is his response. And I actually want to go to the comment section because I want to know how the audience reacts to it. Some are critical, some are supportive. Go for it, Rob.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is
Can
fair
you imagine?
for all of them.
Hey, billionaires, I look forward to working with you to take your billions away from you and give it to the working people, the poor. And guess what? I think you want to work with me. By the way, here's a kicker. You ready for this? Do you know what city in America has the most billionaires? The city he's about to be mayor in. Type in, Rob, which city in America has the most billionaires? 123 billionaires live in New York City right now.
Yeah.
And he wants to say, I don't believe. So you know what he's trying to say is, I don't believe billionaires should live in New York City. That's the interpretation. Look at that. Forbes 2025 ranking, New York City, 123 billionaires. How are these billionaires okay with this guy becoming a mayor of the city? Go a little bit lower, Rob, if you could. Watch this one here. LA's got 53. San Fran's got 50 to 82 because some of the guys left. But look at that number right there, 123. Then there's another video that he's being interviewed where he uses a very, very interesting phrase because the president doesn't call him a socialist. The president calls him a communist. And after you see this, you'll see why that is. Rob, play that clip if you could. And again, I want to go on the Twitter side because we can watch the comments as well afterwards, Rob. Go for it. Go for it, yeah.
Purposes about this entire project.
Listen to the phrase.
It's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in.
It's coming.
Whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production.
Okay, pause right there, Rob. Go back a little bit more. Go back a little bit. Okay, with the smile on his face, the end goal.
Smile on his
Press
face.
it. Do it again.
The end goal of seizing the means of production.
Okay, go back one more time, folks, because we're going to go and say what famous author used that phrase. Don't say anything. Okay. Just we want to go through and say it one more time, Rob. Pay attention, folks. Go ahead.
Goal of seizing the means of production.
What does he say? What's the line?
Means in production?
Seize the means of production. Okay.
Gosh, where did I read
Rob,
that?
By the way, first of all, he must have done this podcast on Christmas because that's an ugly sweater he's wearing. But if you go on ChatGPT,
ugly sweater.
Type in what author or which economist used the phrase "and the means of production." Okay, which economist used the phrase "and the means of production"? Okay. And the means of production, seizing production, famously comes from who? Karl Marx.
Karl Marx.
19th century German philosopher economist who famously associated with the phrase, the proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Workers of the world unite. The abolition of private property in the means of production, right? In the means of production. So now, he is a communist. So this guy wants to go in that direction, and then President Trump responds to it, I believe, this morning. Rob, if you have that clip when he responds to it. And then, Tom, I'm going to come to you first. We're going to save our economist, Vinny, at the end, but we're going to come, Tom, I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to go from the lowest to the go ahead, Rob, play this clip.
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. So I think he's bad news. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's Frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's
go for
great.
So there's a couple things here. First of all, we need to take a close look at NBC because sometimes things are hiding in plain sight. So Kristen Welker says, do you think billionaires should exist? In an inspection of a candidate, is that the kind of question that you would expect? So the first problem I have is with Kristen Welker. And so she is just throwing him the softball that they gave. The campaign, that is a campaign question. So the campaign says, hey, we will go on your show. We will give you the ratings. You'll be able to say, and we've got Zohran.
I don't know if I agree with that.
No.
Push back, Tom.
I'm going to push back hard because the campaign gives questions to the media, and then the media chooses whether to be an inspector or a reciter.
Yeah.
And the media is not inspecting him. They're just saying, do you think billionaires should exist? So you give them the question. However, the second problem here is you have to look in plain sight as to who voted for him in the play. He's not mayor yet. We're about to see a very, very, very ugly campaign where all of these bad sweater videos and everything he said that are about to come out as the more centrist left is going to be on display, trying to defeat him. But let's look at what happened. You have a young generation of very recent college graduates that overwhelmingly voted for him across three axes. Axis number one, how the hell am I going to pay off all the student loan debt? Never mind that you've willingly went and got it for your degree. Number two, wow, when am I going to be able to afford housing? And number three, therefore, life in general is pretty damn overwhelming and expensive.
Yep.
And those people found, you listen to him, he's a skillful communicator, and how he answered that to Kristen Welker with a soft voice and an empathetic tone. That's a gifted communicator. So in plain sight, you need to see that we have a lot of people in this country that just got out with student loan debt, looking at the price of housing, looking at the cost of living, and they were ripe to be harvested by this kind of a message, but they don't know what they're buying.
Right, Rob, can you go to the video where he answers, she's asked the question, do you believe billionaires should exist? Just go on the Twitter so we can see the comment section. Just go to my profile right there. Okay, if you go a little bit lower, one more. Okay, pose the question and look at his instant reaction. This guy had no clue that question was going to be asked. Watch his instant reaction. He doesn't want that question. My opinion, Tom. Go for it.
Described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because,
frankly, by the way, Tom, the reason why I don't think that's the case with that question is because that's exactly the question they don't want him to be asked. And I think she actually asked the right questions. Sometimes the best questions in an interview are the simplest questions. You don't need to complicate a question. You may be right that they've sent the campaign. I don't think he's that big of a player, nor do I think CNBC wants a guy like this at the top. They don't want a communist. They don't want a guy like this to be in New York City while they're doing business out of there. That's my opinion.
Well, this is NBC. If this was CNBC and Joe Kernan, he would have torn his beard off.
It's still owned by the same company, NBC, right? So this leads to the next thing where Bill Ackman promises to fund centrist, and Adam, I'm coming to you, candidate to defeat socialist Mamdani in New York City mayoral race. Ackman, who's a $10 billion guy, announces intent to fund a centrist candidate, challenge him, Mamdani, to presumptive Democratic nominee and a Democratic socialist in New York City mayoral race. Who's your best centrist candidate who would go toe-to-toe with Mamdani in the campaign trail and on the debate stage? Let's crowdsource the names and then do a poll. If someone is ready to raise their hand, I will take care of the fundraising. Mamdani, also a member of the Democratic Socialists of America and the Working Family Party, defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo. So now you're getting guys like Bill Ackman getting involved who are not wanting this. Adam, your thoughts on this?
There's so much to unpack here with this guy. And this is a story that is not going to be going away until the election actually happens in November. So it's like, what do you get when you mix AOC and jihad? You get Zohran Mamdani. So in my opinion, PBD, you've interviewed how many mafia-type guys, New York City-type guys? In my humble opinion, I don't think New York City is going to go for this. And I think they're going to take care of this one way or another, if you know what I'm saying. The threat will be eliminated. That is my humble opinion. I do not see this guy ended up winning.
He's not going to win. I just want to qualify, because when you say stuff like that, we are running a live interpretation. Adam, can you clarify what you really didn't mean?
I'm saying that I don't think that the establishment is going to let this guy win.
That's right.
We're talking about Bill Ackman right now and how he's going to basically say, I'm here, I have your back, I'm to the rescue. Give me your best centrist candidate, and quote unquote, I will take care of the fundraising, I will take care of the rest. So what's happening with this guy is this is the perfect foil to whatever Donald Trump stands for. This is American capitalism versus global socialism, jihadism. And you notice that he keeps saying, oh, he's a communist. He's a communist. So, and by the way, let's just not gloss over what he said in that quote. He says, we're going to hear and bring socialism, whether you believe in BDS, AKA, killing all the Jews, or seizing the means of production, shout out to Karl Marx. What could go wrong here? It's not like we have countless examples of the problems that socialism and communism bring to the table. And then here's my final point. You see the numbers, and I'm sure we'll get into it, of Gen Z and college-educated Gen Z, college-educated female Gen Z who are voting for this in New York. And I'm saying this hypothetically, sarcastically, but almost literally. There's a big portion of Gen Z that needs to go to American re-education camps. And I know what that basically means, re-education camps. I'm not talking about, the really, really bad kind. But there's a whole segment of society that genuinely needs to be re-educated on what America is and what America is not. And America is not Zohran Mamdani. You're telling me that a democratic, socialist, communist jihadist is going to be mayor of the epicenter of capitalism where Wall Street exists? This makes no sense. If you want to understand that you're living in bizarro world, this is it.
Matt, Adam, and you made a great point, but the one thing I'm going to disagree with, you're saying that the establishment won't do this, they won't do that. You even answered your own question. You corrected yourself. That vote, that 25-year-old and older, I had a guy connect me that was like, Vinny, the older people, the rich people, we had this conversation. They're not, Adam, they don't even know what the hell's going on. Because those 25-year-olds that are watching AOC, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. That's that audience that he's getting, and he can win, Adam. I think he's going to win, okay? Because the older people, the really wealthy, Adam, that $123 billion, they're going to move. They're going to leave. That number's probably dropping right now. And you nailed it. He's a freaking communist. He aligns himself with the jihadists. There's a video of him where he will not denounce Sharia law. And that's a whole other conversation we'll get into. But you know what my thing is? Guys, let him win. Okay? I'm dead serious. Let the people who keep voting for this BS, just like California, let them feel it. Like Bernie Sanders says, let them feel the burn. Okay? You want this sympathizing jihadist, wannabe communist in charge of New York? Let them do it. Okay, let them flood the street with crime. Let the businesses collapse. Let the rats take over Times Square, because that's what you're going to get. And to all the New Yorkers, keep doing it. You guys keep doing it. And every time they have somebody to oppose these freaking psychos, nobody does it. You know why? Because you're loyal to your party. It's freaking madness. And it's stupid, but good. Let them do it, Adam. Let them have it. But Adam, look at their pool. From the governor. Look, we had Cuomo. You have Kathy Hochul. You have freaking Mayor Adams. You have this freaking guy. No, they have nothing. They have zero. They have no leadership. And everybody that they pick is trying to destroy this freaking state. And mind you, I'm from Yonkers, New York, bro. They have destroyed New York. Okay, it was a city that never sleeps. It's a city that nobody gives a shit about anymore. It's flooded with illegals. Everybody's leaving. Let it happen, guys. Nothing's ever going to change unless you just let them go. Let them go. And I love that Trump said, come ask me for money. See if you're going to get any freaking money at a federal level. I'm tired of this shit.
He's running on
I feel you. Can I just respond to Vinny real quick, Tom? Just real quick. I feel Vinny's pain on this. I feel Vinny's passion, because there's a part of me that's like, let that shit happen. Yes, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Don't forget one thing. This is what's called a Democratic primary. When in primaries, just like that's the opposite of general election, the most hardcore people come out. It's like who votes in midterms? The most hardcore people, right? Who votes for representatives? The most hardcore people. There's a big difference in a general election. So if you're following what Bill Ackman says here, he says, give me your best centrist candidate. if there's one person, whether it's Eric Adams, whether it's Cuomo, whether someone else shows up, and it's one-on-one, Mamdani versus whoever that person may be, that person will win. If it's fractured and there's 3, 4, 5 people running against Mamdani, you're absolutely right. He may be the next mayor of New York, and we might see the official end of New York City.
Pat, do you think he's going to win? I have a feeling.
Well, let me tell you what's going on.
He's going to win.
We're in New York. Whether it's New York City, whether it's Hamptons, different beaches here. We're talking to a lot of people. You know what people are saying? Weirdest thing? Guys who sell real estate in New York. Yesterday, this guy named Jason, if you remember him.
I remember.
Jason, no, his name is John.
Good guy.
This guy named John, right? You pulled him, Tom, and you shook his hand. You pulled him
Tom
like a Trump.
Goes, what are you doing in the world? The guy goes, I'm going to go fix my shoulder.
He did the Trump?
Tom went like this.
Trump?
I'm like, whoa,
Tom trumped
relax.
him. Tom trumped him.
So anyways, he said to me, he says, and another guy said, he says, isn't it weird that we are all rooting for Adams to win? He says, if you would have told me a year ago, 2 years ago, I'm going to be rooting for Adams to win, we're all now rooting for Adams to win. Because nobody wants this nut job. That's what people are saying in New York right now as we speak. And Adams, believe it or not, there's a part of Adams, the more I watch him, look, nobody, is perfect. People make a lot of different mistakes, different kinds of mistakes. And he was accused of that whole Turkey thing, $10 million, you know which one I'm talking about, investment, all that. Okay, fine. But to me, you know what Adams is going through? Realizing this party sucks.
Yep.
He's like, dude, this party sucks. What the hell am I doing with these guys? I was a guy that was a card-carrying member, and then this is what you're doing now? And I don't know if Adams was Democrat first before New York or New York first before party. I think to him is like, look, being a New Yorker is way more important than being a Democrat. I'm protecting the city is what I'm doing. And even when he speaks, he sounds like he's a New Yorker, right? Adams when he speaks. But Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
He's running as an independent.
I know he is.
So I know
he is. And then Chris is running as a Republican. As we get closer, I want to say his name right because I got so many Monex people saying you have to learn how to say folks. Half the time I don't even know how to say Adam's name right.
Silwa.
Oh, yeah, he's part of the Guardian Angels. The Guardian Angels was an alternative protection.
But he's a Trump. He was not a Trump fan. I don't know if he's changed or not, but you're not going to be anti-Trump and you're going to try to be the opposition of this.
Look, so I have a set of thoughts here, and I got to organize them here so that I'm faithful and I don't take up a lot of time. First of all, we have seen elections in recent memory that were supposed to be slam dunks, but went the other way. Canada, Pierre Poilievre, right? Oh, it's a slam dunk, all through the month of September. And then whammo, it's like, wow, what happened there?
Yeah.
So you've got elections aren't over until they're over, number one. Number two, Adam is right that during the primary, the activated group is only the most energized and activated of the party. You look at the turnout. The turnout for primaries is usually 40-50% of what the turnout's going to be in the general election, regardless of whether it's a midterm year where there's less enthusiasm or it's a general year where you have presidential elections and everybody's in the polls. So you've got that. The other side of it is I honestly think Eric Adams is having a personal not metamorphosis, but an evolution. He stepped out of line on the aid packages and sanctuary cities in New York. And in 6 seconds, people that had supported him and loved him and we are family, we are the DNC, they turned on him. And they turned on him hard. And he's looking at that going, wow, what just happened? I get out of line an inch, and it turns out there is no loyalty. So I think there's a bit of an evolution with Eric Adams. And you got to remember, he came from the police and he was not entirely lined up with the defund the police. Oh, he towed the line on the racial discrimination and things like that. Of course he did, and he waved the flag a little bit. But then he backed up and goes, no, wait a minute. So I think there's things that are happening with Eric Adams are very real. But the other thing I'll say about this guy, this candidate, which I call Mad Manny, is look at those banners. Afford to live, afford to dream. And you're talking to people who are out there who feel like Yeah, there's a lot of immigration here in New York City, but I also can't afford it here. I'm not talking about the immigrants that say they can't afford it. I'm talking about regular citizens that say, this is expensive, I can't afford it. And it's the same thing happened to California when all their insurance went up. And they're saying, this is getting expensive, I can't afford it. And they don't turn in mob-like fashion. Back it up, Rob, you can see those backdrops there. That's his backdrop, the orange and yellow, right there, top right. Yep. Afford to live, afford to dream. It's the yellow and blue. You see it everywhere, and it looks like it's just been freshly painted. And it's a very brilliant campaign when you're trying to say the people that did it to you ain't us. It's them, and we need to go after the billionaires. It's the billionaires' fault. So it's a brilliant redirection when the people that have failed have been the party itself, the same way that's failed in California. And we're going to talk a little bit later today about $10 gas.
Yeah.
Hey, PBD, can I ask you a question? Because I actually want to get your CEO input on this, right? So, they say if you don't study history, you're destined to repeat it. There's another quote out there that says, be weary from the person that tells you exactly what you want to hear, especially if they say what they smile on their face like this guy is doing. Deception often wears the face of charm. So you talked about being a proud capitalist. Walk me through what you think the conversations are going to be like in the next 5 months between CEOs of companies and their hundreds, if not thousands of employees who may be voting for Mamdani. Like if you're the CEO of Valuetainment and everyone here is voting for Bernie Sanders, what kind of conversation do you think is going to happen in the office? Because there's a lot of money at stake here, billions at stake. And believe me, CEOs are going to be, you're saying, oh, if you like this job, we might be moving to Florida, buddy. Put your CEO hat on. What do you think the conversations are going to be like in New York?
Well, it all depends on who you are and who's brainwashing you. Because if you look at this article here that says, stunning number of Gen Z Americans side with Iran against Israel. Okay. So then the question becomes, why? Stunning number of Gen Z Americans side with Iran over Israel. A Daily Mail Jail Partners poll of 1,025 registered voters conducted on Tuesday and Wednesday found that 22% of Gen Z voters, 18 to 29, sided with Iran over Israel in the recent conflict, compared to 41% supporting Israel and 37% unsure. Jail Partners pollster James Johnson stating, looking at the results, it's hard to avoid the conclusion that many young Americans have a problem with the Jewish state of Israel. It isn't that young people have a positive view of Iran per se. They don't, but they don't have such a negative view of Israel that a significant portion of them are ready to side with almost any entity that is against them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Overall, 55% American voters support Israel, 9% backed Iran, 36% were unsure. So watch this. 9% of American voters supported Iran, backed Iran, 22% of Gen Z. All right. What does this story tell you? This isn't an Israel story. This isn't an Iran story. This is a who do you spend the most time with and who has got influence in your ear. So we'll sit here, right? And like people watch this podcast and people will text as well. Hey, Tom, boom. Hey, Adam, boom. Hey, Vinny, boom. And then afterwards, someone's going to come in your ear, Adam, or Vinny's ear, or my ear, or Tom's ear. Let me tell you were right. Then let me tell you let me tell you this. And let me tell you this is where Pat's wrong. This is where Adam's wrong. This is where Vinny's wrong. This is where that. But imagine now you're 22 years old, okay? And you're in college. Who was doing that? 4 to 6 professors every day for 4 years. Jeez. What do you think these professors do? 13 to 1 are liberal to conservatives. You have a monopoly on brainwashing you and telling you what to do and what not to do. And you're sitting there buying to it. So if you're asking me a question how CEOs are going to feel about this and how employees are going to feel about this, it's all about what generation has what influence over them. I was having a meeting yesterday, Saturday, right? We're in a room with about 50 people. These are guys that run businesses. One of them was doing, their top line revenue was, $500 million per year. They got a couple thousand employees. You know who I'm talking about. Maria Walker, inside joke. So, we have some people who do a $150 million private equity, all these other things. And we're having conversations. Who should we trust when it comes down to media? And there was a couple guys that were their conservative media company that they're running, Tom. You know which ones I'm talking about, the guys that are in the room. Mm-hmm. And so I said, all right, so here's a question I got for all of you. What's that? I said, the way I watch people when they come after us or they say certain things, the reason why I'm not offended, because I understand people's opinions are created based on a handful of things, Adam. One is Everybody's biased. Whether you like it or not, you're biased. Majority of people, guess what they choose as their faith? Majority of people, guess what they choose as their faith?
Atheism?
No.
Christianity.
No. Hear me out. Let me ask you one more time. Majority of kids, when they're born, by the time they're 25, 30 years old, what is most likely the faith they choose?
Whatever their parents.
Whatever their parents had.
Oh, for sure.
Whatever their parents had. Adam, your parents were Jewish. Your parents,
Jewish.
Christians.
Yep.
Tom's parents, Christians. You choose your parents' faith, right? Because there's a little bit of what? Bias. If your parents were in the military, you join the military. Our pastor, Dudley Rutherford, his brother just passed away. He made a very nice video about his brother, whom we saw him give a sermon. I think all his brothers are pastors. His father's a pastor. His father was one of the funniest preachers ever. His uncles are pastors. Everyone's a pastor. If you're born in that family, you're most likely going to end up becoming a what? A pastor, except if your name is Dallas. Everybody else is probably going to end up being a pastor. That's an inside joke. He'll get a kick out of it. Okay? So we all have a bias. Guy sends me a message. I can't believe you had Tommy Robinson on. As a Pakistani, I want to debate him. I said, go make a video. I understand you're not happy about it, but there is data. But as a Pakistani, I understand why you're loyal. All the Reza Pahlavi, I get it. You have bias. Number two is what? Number two after bias is who was offended. Watch people's position on who offended them. Number three is which propaganda you're buying. Everybody's buying into propaganda. Very few people are truth tellers. Most people are selling a propaganda or bought into propaganda. What's number four? Who has the highest score of being able to reason? And last one, who is fair? And only time tells who's going to be able to get those 5 things right. There are certain things we have all biases on, certain things we don't have biases on. Unfortunately, most young kids, Adam, that are going through this, they have been bought into a propaganda coming out of a university, and it takes years of eliminating all that brainwashing they got in universities, and that's a lot of effort and a lot of work. So we'll see what happened with that. But let me get to the next story here. Let me get to the next story here that we're talking about. The story we're talking about is, and Tom, I'm going to come to you with this one, is the China trade deal, okay? Trump locks in China trade deal, keeping pressure on Beijing, and this is a big story. The Trump administration finalized a trade deal with China, securing commitments from Beijing to export rare earth minerals vital to U.S. manufacturing. As Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Bloomberg, he has this video here, Rob. If you want to play this clip, go for it.
Mr. Secretary, you just said that you're going to announce a whole bunch of deals over the course of the next week. With what countries? And does that include the China deal the president suggested was signed yesterday? What is that?
So the China deal, we inked the deal. You remember we had a trip to Geneva, and then that was being slow played. We got back together in London, and that deal was signed and sealed 2 days ago. President just said it just the other, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. And then he also suggested that we are, of course, at the very close finish line with India. Of course, the way these deals happen is their prime minister and their parliament have to approve it, and the president likes to close these deals himself. I mean, he's the deal maker. He loves to close it. I think we have deal after deal after deal. The president's going to make his calls. He's going to decide exactly the finishing touches on them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay out a structure of all the different kinds of tariff arrangements with different countries, right? There are countries with huge deficits. There are countries that are balanced. We're going to set that.
Rob, can we go hear what Scott Besson had to say about this? Because this is obviously a very big news that a lot of people are looking for with the China trade war. Go for it here.
I know the rare earth minerals was a huge improvement after your conversations. Can you tell us about this agreement with China? What exactly does it entail?
Love the way Besson speaks.
Sure. And look, Maria, this is what leadership looks like under President Trump. We've got peace deals, we got trade deals, we got tax deals, and in dealing with the world's second largest economy, we approached each other with mutual respect.
For this job.
President Trump set the table with a very important call with Party Chair Xi. They have a very good relationship. We had trade talks in Geneva. Toward moving toward the agreement in London. Part of the agreement was tariffs coming down and rare earth magnets starting to flow back to the U.S. They formed the core of a lot of our industrial base. They were not flowing as fast as previously agreed. President Trump and President Xi had a phone call, and then our teams met in London, ironed this out, and I am confident now that we, as agreed, the magnets will flow. In the meantime, we had put countermeasures versus
you can pause
the
it right
Chinese.
there. Tom, how close are we? How important is this? How big could this be?
This is very important. This is very close. But remember, what he said was this is a trade deal. This is not the complete trade deal. And what's very, very important here, he mentioned rare earth minerals and magnets more than once. Why? It's the same thing we were negotiating in Greenland. Now, Greenland, we just have a deal with them. Now we got to build a mill and dig down in there and you do all that. And Greenland's not done. And Ukraine, part of the areas where they have the rare earth stuff is there's, bombs flowing back and forth, and that has to stop. But the rare earth deal in Ukraine was important, and that's what they're doing here. But here, China has the rare earth minerals coming out of the ground, being turned into magnets, and he wanted to get those flowing back. So here's what happened. We put the tariffs in place, and then they slowed down shipping the rare earth. We were trying to get backup plans with Ukraine and Greenland for rare earth. But remember, that was, Pat, first you got to build all the infrastructure you need to get it out of the ground and make it usable. Well, guess what we did? We went back to them, and it was a product called ethane, and we covered it on the podcast before. Ethane is a root chemical that becomes plastic, and they need it, and they need lots of it, and we have massive, massive reserves of it. So, and it becomes plastic. So the need for plastic and chip software by China. So it went like this. It's a chessboard. Hey, here come the tariffs. All right, well, your magnet and rare earths are going to slow down. You get fewer of those. All American industry. Mr. President, we can't get the rare earth stuff. You got to help us out. Now, just a minute. I'm negotiating with them. And he says, hang on, I got an idea. Shut down ethane and shut down and put restrictions on chip software. That's our chess move. Now China, making all kinds of things out of plastic, goes, crap. All right, I'll meet you in Geneva. I just compressed 2 months into that. You see how that worked? And they met in Geneva and they got it together. Now then, ready for this? The asterisk at the end of the sentence, if you dive down into this, if the rare earth magnets start flowing at the quantities they promised, only then will we declare that China has fulfilled its promises and the ethane will flow the other way. So what we are doing is we are doing Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. Okay, sign here, sign here. Sometimes trade deals aren't worth the paper they're written on. Well, guess what? We will let the ethane go and we will reduce the chip software in line as soon as they start actually flowing the magnets. So I think this is a very good starting point, and we have reason to be happy. And by the way, just look at the stock market. The stock market likes it too, because with these magnets flowing back to American manufacturers, now they can keep the prices down of the products that they're making. So I think this was a really cool chess game, and later we will be looking at it back and forth.
Rob,
I think
can you
is
go
a
to
case
1 month?
study of how to do it.
Thank you, Tom. That's great. Can you go to 1 month, Rob? Okay, that's what the last month looks like, folks. Look at that. That's what the last 1 month looks like. Go to 6 months. It's going to be different. That's 6 months. Okay, remember the low, 38,000? Drop below 38, 37? From 37 now it's what? 44, 294. And by the way, if...
This is broad-based Dow. It's even worse if you look at S&P.
That's right, yeah. If this continues, the tariffs, the winning comes, I keep saying this, if they get this deal in 2026, the enemy is going to try to do everything in their power to make Trump look bad, divide internally, everything in their power to do so. But 2026 could be the greatest years for many of you, of your lives, if you do it right. I think 2026 is going to be an IPO year. I think 2026 is going to be a aggressively successful year for a lot of people that play offense, and I'm very optimistic about it. Tom, Adam, your thoughts here before we go to the next story.
Fully agree with you on this. So we were just talking about the New York City potential mayor, Zohran Mamdani, and if you want to understand him, go read the book, The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. You'll get a good, deep understanding to that guy's mindset. Now, if you're a world leader or somebody even domestic that wants to understand the mindset of Donald Trump, well, go read one book, and that book is The Art of the Deal. And in The Art of the Deal, he basically breaks it down into 5 key points. He says, think big, maximize leverage, know your market, use the press, which Trump does better than anyone, some may say. And then number 5, protect your downside and have unlimited upside. Everything that Scott Bessent just said, by the way, I think he's got a very cool, calm, collective demeanor, which is almost like the opposite of like how Howard Lutnick is. He's a little more brash, a little more bold. I think that's a good 1-2 punch negotiating these deals. But everything he talks about is in the framework of a deal. All right, whether it's peace deals, whether it's trade deals, whether it's tax deals. Now they're talking about rare earth mineral deals, hostage deals. Everything's a deal. And when you're a deal maker, anything's on the table. So I have one friend, you know him, Keith. He has an uncle who's a billionaire, right?
Yep.
And he still works his tail off every single day. I go, why is he still working? He's 70-something years old. He goes, dude, he loves it. He's a deal junkie. He loves it. You know, Pat, you always talk about the love of the game. Hey, are you doing this for money or are you doing this for the love of the game? Trump is not doing this for money. Trump is doing it because he loves making deals. So in my opinion, Trump, he's working on the biggest deals he's ever worked on in his life. And a lot of them are coming to fruition now. So God bless America.
Yeah, well, keep at it. We'll see what happened there. What we got here as the next story. Candace Owens gets a phone call. She talks about, she talks about it, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, an episode yesterday about a phone call she got out of nowhere from the president about somebody. Okay, and I want to play this clip for you. Go ahead, Rob, and play this clip. Here's Candace talking about a phone call she got from the White House. Go ahead, Rob.
And I get another message that's like, hey, keep your phone on. And anyways, this phone call is coming from Florida. Pick up the phone, and lo and behold, so here's what happened. I'm negotiating this thing. I'm negotiating Ukraine and Russia, and you wouldn't believe how many parts are part. It is President Donald J. Trump. He is calling me, and in true President Trump fashion, he jumps right into the narrative. We're not, hey, how you doing? He just like jumps right into the narrative of exactly how this went down. I am literally, it is hard to catch my breath to comprehend that 4 days ago, I'm ending a series about Brigitte Macron, and now I'm speaking to the President of the United States, and the topic of conversation, no matter which way you want to slice it, is about Macron's wife's penis. I mean, there's no other way to say it, right? Anyways, I have Macron. I like Macron. We're speaking at the White House, and I'm walking him to his car, and, he says to me, Mr. President, can I speak to you for a second? I say, of course you can speak to me about anything. What's going on? And Macron wants to have a little sidebar. And then Macron says to him, Mr. President, do you know Candace Owens? And I say, yes, of course I know Candace Owens. What's going on? And then he continues his narrative, and he tells me that Emmanuel Macron is requesting to his face that I stop speaking about his wife. And one of the things Trump said is like, he tells me, she's old, and this is really, really impacting her. And then he said, I saw her, Candace, I saw her up close, and she looks like a woman to me. She looks like a woman to me. I had dinner with her at the top of the Eiffel Tower. And I explained to him that she has had this amazing doctor who specializes in transgenderism surgeries or feminization procedures.
Rob,
I'm talking to the President of the United States about this, guys. This is crazy. This is wacky. And I said to Trump, and I will be honest, that
so it's
at that moment I realized that one day this is going to...
point. So, Vinny, your thoughts on this? So this is Candace saying that Trump called her to say Macron is asking to pump the brakes because we're trying to do deals, and hey, Candace, can you give Candace a call? Your thoughts on this
Listen,
call?
With all due respect, and I absolutely love Candace, but you don't go talking about a private call from the President of the United States. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Biden. I don't care if it's freaking Ronald Reagan's ghost. Okay, that's just not loose lips. It's just weak character. Like if you're leaking conversations or click or whatever, like it's not, you can't trust someone who's willing to expose stuff like that. Like I don't know. It's not a good look because, like, for instance, do you think anybody's gonna ever have a conversation just with whatever it is with Candace with that information coming out? Do you honestly think? Would you trust?
First of all, let me ask this question. Do you believe that phone call happened? I think she said, Rob, what was the exact date? She said sometime in February. So you're talking about 30 days after inauguration, January 20th. I think she says the phone call happened third week of February. The question is, do you believe the call happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
2, so you believe the phone call happened, that President Trump called?
My opinion, yes.
Okay, you believe that.
It's
Okay.
too easy to deny, right? It's like, we never talked to her.
Adam, you believe that the phone call happened?
I do. Do you want me to my feedback?
But the second thing is there anything wrong with her publicly sharing a phone call that, I guess the second question is, do you think she asked permission from the Trump to publicly talk about the phone call?
No.
Hell no.
Then do you think it's appropriate for her to publicly talk about
not at
that?
all.
Becomes a question. Adam, your thoughts?
Well, it depends on what the phone call basically encompassed, if he said, keep this between us or not. But Candace has an opportunity to basically make friends with Trump or make enemies with Trump. If Elon Musk is an enemy of Trump at this point, you better believe Candace might be in her sights. Now, what you don't see in that clip is the reason that Emmanuel Macron asked that of Trump was because basically it was, we've heard the quid pro quo thing before. He said, listen, if you want my help in ending the Russia-Ukraine war, I need a favor from you. Have Candace, who has made it her life's work of dismantling my wife's, husband's, whatever body parts, if you really want me to go all in and help save literally millions of lives, do me a favor and make a call to her and see if she can just chill out. Because no matter who you are, no matter what you do, we all have emotions. We all have feelings. Everything's interpersonal relationships. We just talked about how Trump and Musk fell out because of personal relationship. Do you believe that Macron maybe said something to Trump about, hey, this woman has made her life's work about my wife being a man or not? I totally believe that happened. So, but I also, if Trump never told her don't say anything, I'm actually understand why Candace would say this. I'll say one last thing. Making a documentary about Emmanuel Macron's wife or ending the Ukraine-Russia war, to me, it's not even a conversation. You end the war. But Candace in another clip said this. She said, I didn't know what to do. So do you know who she said she called? She said she called Tucker, who she doesn't really speak with, but she got his advice, free speech advice. She said at the time, I was pregnant with my 4th child, I believe. I was emotional, and I tend to be hot-headed. Wink, wink. I do believe that she's been infected by the IDS, Israel Derangement Syndrome, but I don't totally understand why she's putting that out there for clips, for views. I get that. But hopefully, this will lead to ending the Russia-Ukraine war, and we can refocus the conversation not on Emmanuel Macron's wife's body parts.
I don't think she said that she's changing her position. The fact that she's talking about this, that's bringing it back up. So I don't think this is going to put an end to any of it. It is back surface that people are talking. We haven't talked about this. And by the way, you want to know what's crazy? I actually think she's right about Macron.
Me too.
I actually think that and I'm not even taking a position that I think that was one of the better jobs of investigation work that's happened the last couple of years. And I think I even remember we were at a UFC fight the first time she was reading it and she's telling us about it backstage. But the challenge becomes that phone call. And Adam, to add to what you just said right there, I don't think this gets her closer to Elon because she's also been very critical of Elon and Trump. So I don't think it's going to be all of a sudden getting there. Tom, your thoughts on this position here?
So number one, I have a couple thoughts. Man, if the President of the United States calls you and he's speaking about that, I don't think you talk about it on the air unless you had some sort of a framework agreement, right? And say, well, Mr. President, I appreciate the call and everything. You know, I'm very public and I'm very out there talking about many things. If I was to mention this, yeah, I would prefer you didn't. You can do what you want, Candace, but I would prefer you didn't. I think you ask about that. We've had all kinds of celebrities and all kinds of heavy-hitting, major political people that have said things behind the scenes. Would we have liked, or would you have liked to gone out and say things, hey, folks, in the insurance industry, the following might help us out? Yeah, but we respect what's called confidence. And I just don't think with a sitting president, unless you've got a conversation there and an understanding that you say anything. Now then, I think she's right about Macron's husband, wife, and she's not the only one, but her investigative reporting was quite good and quite deep and quite, backed up. But
okay.
I have a final little point here, and it's about Macron. If Macron said to the President of the United States, I am not going to weigh in and help out with a major humanitarian crisis in a foreign country until gossip stops about my wife, then you are one of the shallowest people to walk the halls of leadership at the country level. That just absolutely grates me on that point.
That's a good point. Vinny, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, just I want to get in there because Adam, you said something like, does he have to say, or like, should there have been like a, hey, can I? No, that there's an unwritten rule. You don't have to say, keep this between us. It's a personal phone call between me and you. I shouldn't have to even think about you going on air. The conversations that we have, that you have with him, that you have with that. Did you ever be like, hey, don't ever talk about this? No, you should know. You keep your mouth shut. Especially the president, Adam, of the United States. There's a trust. And once that trust is gone, I don't think anybody would ever talk to her on any type of level. Like, hey, listen, just do me a favor. And listen, I love Candace to death. By the way, great reporting. She revealed the president of freaking France's husband, wife, whatever, at least at the bare minimum, was in some pedophilia shit because you met him when he was 14 or 12 or whatever. But when it comes to allegedly, but there shouldn't be a question, Pat, of should he have said something? Should she have asked? No. The president of the United States isn't asking. How about this? You should know whatever I talk to you. Mind you, when the person calls you, hey, this is a call from the president of the United States. That's it. That's the cosign, unwritten rule.
I got you. Adam, your thoughts.
Vinny, I hear you, but you have to understand your audience, understand the person you're making. Trump isn't making a phone call to some random person, some person with information, a business contact. He's making a phone call to one of the most popular podcasters in the world, whose job it is to yap and talk shit. You say, don't say this to your audience, and you say that up front. That's like when you're giving a quote to a newspaper or the New York Times, the Washington Post. You'll say this is from an undisclosed source.
Yeah.
You'll say that.
Or
So,
I'll talk to
in
you
my
on
opinion,
background.
Exactly. You'd say, listen, Candace, I know that you have a big platform. Do not mention this, but here's what I need from you. And listen, if the Trump is basically saying, hey, as much as shallow it is about Macron basically trying to defend his wife, people have emotions, people have feelings. If it's a matter of saving lives and ending of war, you do what you're told. Because to me, this whole thing that we talk about, signal versus noise is whether Brigitte Macron has a penis or not. Signal is ending a freaking war. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Yeah, but no, Adam, I agree. I agree 100%.
Okay, so we'll just end it right there.
No.
well, let me ask this. Let me ask this other question. So on this one here, we went. Okay, so maybe the last question. Trump making the phone call. Do you think Trump made the right decision calling, or should Trump have told Macron, bro, that's your business? What, you want me to call Candace to tell her to stop talking about you? That's embarrassing request you're making. The request means it's right. So do you think the president should have made the call, or do you think the president making the call knew that there's a possibility that Candace is going to talk about this publicly? You remember when we did the podcast, something happened in the middle of the podcast with the president, and he said,
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think the president knew she may talk about this publicly?
Yes.
I think in that moment, Pat, because he's like we talked about, he's such a deal maker. Adam, you said this. He just wants to make deals. I don't think in that moment he's going, oh shit, is she gonna?
Okay.
Because you should have, and because there's a book, Pat. This is in regard to her too. There's a book that a guy wrote. You guys might have read this. It's called "Choose Your Enemies Wisely." Yeah. She is choosing Adam. Elon's a whole different ball of wax. This is the worst enemy to make. Is the president of the United States, who's not only going to be in for 4 years, whoever's going to come in after him is going to be in there for, hopefully, God willing, for a bunch of other years. Nobody's going to trust her. They're not going to trust her to have any conversations. She doesn't have to care. It's just a fact.
Okay. So, Rob, there was another clip that you had. The one, here's one with Piers, right, where she's talking about, go ahead and play this clip. This is about Israel, Iran, complete different position. Go ahead, Rob.
under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 19, dishonourable discharge can result in forfeiture of all pay and allowances up to 5 years confinement, which is a pretty heavy penalty to pay.
Yeah, I'd want my kids to go to jail before they fought for Israel. I'll say that honestly.
Okay,
I would. I have 3 sons, and I'm going to be honest with you, Pierce. I'm glad you told me that consequence. I'd take that consequence any day to them being sent back over in a coffin because they died for Israel. So.
Okay, but I think the one thing you're missing, look, I come from a big military family, a lot of military in my family, and a lot of people fighting wars on behalf of the United States are not doing it because they think Bibi Netanyahu wants them to. They're doing it because
some of them do that, and they write into my show and I answer the question.
But many of them won't, and they might be offended by you suggesting that's the only reason they're doing it.
And they can watch your show, and they can be offended all they want, but I think it's more offensive the way that our military is treated, the veterans are treated, and the gaslighting that takes place when we're told that we have to defend everybody's borders. But
I actually think America treats its veterans better than almost any country in the world.
I mean, this has always been an open conversation, and I'm just saying that if my boys were being drafted to fight this war in Iran, I would be like, you know what, honey, take the other option. And that's not because it's cowardice. It's because when you sign up for the military...
Okay, but I would say that the pilots...
you are pledging that you are doing something that is going to better your country.
Candace,
and like I said, our country has been in steep decline since we have been part of this foreign policy, which is just whatever Israel wants.
Okay, but you made that point, but what
By the way, shout out to Pierce, who just crossed 4 million. And shout out to Candace for being on Pierce and them having a conversation. Do you agree with her position on the 3 sons? I wouldn't want them to join the military today to fight for Israel.
As a veteran, as an angry patriot, she has the right to say that. And, because mind you, I backed up and I said, what do you mean by I would much rather have my sons go to prison than have them fight for Israel? No, unless there is a draft, unless there's a war where we don't have any soldiers, well, thank God to Pete Hegseth and what he's doing, that the numbers are going up and we're going to be okay. I don't like Israel getting dragged into something just to make a point, because nobody's dying for Israel when they signed the oath. When we signed the oath, we signed up to do what, Pat? To the Constitution, to serve America, okay? But the freedoms, what Candace is not alluding to, like you get to be who you are, was brought to you by the people who did what she says she never let her own kids do. So you understand? Like she gets to say what she wants to say because people like us signed up and defended this country so you could say and do whatever you want. She has the right to do it. I'm not a huge fan of it because nobody's dying for Israel. I signed up to fight at any cost and protect any cost the United States of America.
What percentage of people you think joined the military to fight wars for Israel? What percentage of Americans joined the military to fight for Israel? What would you say?
0%.
No, I mean, hold on. If this percentage of Jewish people in the military that signed up to do that,
I don't know if I met a single Jew in the military. I literally don't know if I met a single Jew in the military.
That's a very good point. I don't think
Did you ever meet a Jew in the military?
No.
I don't know if Jews join the military.
I'm going to be honest with you.
They do.
Great. I've never even
No,
I've never met a Jew.
IDF. I don't know if I met one
American soldier.
I don't know if I met one. So we got 1.3 million active duty personnel, 8 to 10,000 Jewish service members. Do the percentage on it, on how it matches with the population. That translates to what? Less than 1%, 0.6 to 0.8% of military population. What percentage of the U.S. population is the Jewish community? Okay, so got it. So they're 2% of the U.S. population. So nearly a third of whatever the U.S. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's not a lot of Jews. I don't know if I ever met a single Jew in the military.
I'm telling you, I didn't. I was in for.
I don't know if people joined to fight Israel. Adam, your thoughts on this? On the comments here about the 3 boys, 3 sons.
No, I mean, let's just. You join the American military to fight for America. Period. Full stop. It's such a stupid premise to think that anybody is joining the military to fight for Israel. It just shows how deranged Israel. Derangement syndrome has seeped in. Because here's the reality. Everything she talked about, none of it came to fruition. Can we acknowledge that? Is that she's saying, de-enlist from the military. What's it called? Dishonorable discharge. I want you to do this. You're not going to die for Israel. Yeah, 0 boots are on the ground, Candace. 0. Not 1. By the way, the hypothetical war against Iran, where 0 boots were on the ground and we just dropped some bunker bombs, 0 boots. But by the way, when they're fighting Hezbollah and they're fighting Hamas and they're fighting the Houthis and they're fighting radical jihadists all around the region, 0 boots on the ground. So to me, it's such a stupid premise and non-starter that it's just complete fear porn, and all you Gen Z idiots are falling for it. And then I said this on the last podcast, Donald Trump dismantled George W. Bush and Jeb Bush. Please clap. So what makes you think that Donald Trump, the person who campaigned on not having stupid endless wars, was going to get into a quagmire in the Middle East of stupid endless wars? How uninformed and misinformed are you? Or do you have an agenda? I don't know. Is fear porn your business model? I don't know. Because have any American troops been on the ground? You talk about what percentage of Jews joined the American military. I know 100% of Israelis joined the IDF. I know that. But zero boots on the ground, yet you're selling the fear porn that we're all going to die for Israel. It's such a stupid premise. And it just shows where Candace is at. And I actually like Candace. Like, anytime I've hung out with Candace, I actually think she's a cool person. I just think she's genuinely been infected with this very, very sickening disease.
So I didn't serve in the military, but I've known many, many, many people, including the patriots and the heroes that are sitting at this table, who have. And it's very interesting, in Los Angeles, to Adam's point, I had not one, not two, but 3 classmates that I remember at Pepperdine when I was getting my master's were either going in after or had been American citizens and went and served 2 years in the IDF. Be out of family heritage, and they're, I am an American, but I'm going to go serve my 2 years in the IDF. But everyone that was in the U.S. military, you always ask them, where did you go? Oh, I was in Grenada. Oh, it's many, many years ago, but I was stationed here. I was in the Philippines for this long. We have a very tremendously good friend and business colleague from the Philippines that served in the U.S. Marine Corps and went many places. So anyone that serves in the U.S. military, you go somewhere in the U.S. military and you defend and serve. So which mom is going to pick which country that they don't want their son or daughter serving to go to? Don't we in the U.S. military kind of end up going everywhere and serving everywhere? And sometimes those are hot theaters, and hot theaters in military terminology is an active engagement with real things that are going off. And so I don't know. I feel like this is a strong feeling about Israel, but if you step back and look at it more broadly in terms of service, and I know it's a hot issue right now and there's a lot going on, and I respect Candace as well, but which moms are going to say, I don't want my kids going to Sudan. I don't want my kids going to Uzbekistan to sit in there. I don't want my kids going to the Karbala Gap.
Yeah.
I mean, where does it stop?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things here, okay, that you go through. One, everybody's brainwashed and everybody brainwashes. Everybody. Let me say that one more time. Everybody's brainwashed and everybody's brainwashing. The question is, are you using soap? Are they using no soap on you? Is it nasty? Is it dirty water? What is it? But there's no one that's not brainwashing or being brainwashed. Let me unpack that for you. For many years, our jobs was to convince people that being a business owner, an entrepreneur, can help your family's dreams become a reality. And these are people that have never thought about doing that before. And then eventually, you can use the word persuasion, whatever you want to call it. I was always told, John Maxwell said it best. He says, persuasion is a gift. He said, but be very careful once you learn really how to persuade, to not be tempted to manipulate. Because it's the same skill set. But in persuasion, everybody wins. In manipulation, you win, they lose. Because you're destroying people's lives, right, when you're manipulating. I think a lot of people have fallen for this trap of getting caught with hate, with anger, with rage, and the deeper they get into it, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then eventually the example becomes of the following. You have to be so careful. In poker, they call it something. Whenever you're at a table, and this happens at blackjack, but typically it's more on, the phrase is more used on poker when you're playing.
No limit hold'em.
And you're in, you go full in, you're supposed to win, you got pocket aces. And all of a sudden, river comes in, boom, you lose. And I was supposed to win that. And then you buy in another $5,000, and then all of a sudden, you're not playing reckless. Now you're going in hands you should have never gone into. Now you're raising on hands you would have never raised before, and you know it's not the right thing to raise 210, but you're thinking, you know, the what do you call it? It's going to show 210
on the flop.
And on the flop, and you go, oh, I got the... And you're just chasing to get that money back, right? What's that phrase called? Tilt. Tilt. Mm-hmm. That happens in politics. That happens in life. That happens in so many different things. And sometimes once the point is made and you continue, then all of a sudden you're the phrase in too deep that you start saying certain things and believing certain things that maybe you never initially believed in anyways, but now it's exaggerated. Now you're fully committed to it. I think the biggest thing with that phrase is I joined the military proudly. And while we were in there, they were doing the anthrax deal. That was the biggest controversy. Are you going to take the shot? You're not going to take the shot. I'm not going to take the shot.
People are getting
you have to take the shot. Your government property and 8 years and and all the stuff that you're going through, right? The debate is healthy. It's necessary. But the moment you lose pride in your country, you know, I'm a Christian, right? The Catholic Church. What movies have they made about Catholic Church? What is the biggest criticism they say about the Catholic Church? Spotlight was about what?
Spotlight was about the Boston Archdiocese and how they were covering up. Basically,
this is a Tom Hanks movie.
No. It was Michael Keaton.
Oh, Keaton.
Mark
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. Oh, by the way, fantastic.
How many movies have they made about what happens in the Catholic Church?
Da Vinci.
A lot. How many have they made about what happens to boys in Catholic churches?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah, a good amount.
Does that mean all Catholics are like that?
Not at all.
No.
How many things do you hear? Like even we talk about Muslims, right? And we say certain things about Muslims. And you hear about what? Extremists. Does that mean all of them are like that?
Not at all.
No. How many bad businessmen are there who, Armenian, insurance fraud, Glendale, does that mean all Armenians are like that? How many criticism about Jews does that mean all of them are? The question then becomes military pride. My loyalty is to the Constitution that allowed me to have a life that I can have my opinion and we can have discourse and debate and sit there and say, I agree, I disagree. And I totally support that. But the moment you lose pride in the country that gave you the opportunity to have the freedom of speech and you no longer have pride in that to fight for that, what are you willing to fight for? I think it's a slippery slope that you're going. And God willing, she's able to code through it because when you're that talented and capable, you attract a lot of people that say, you're right. And if you're always only around people that are saying, you're right, so it creates a lot of blind spots. Yeah. And one day you wake up, you're like, whoa, I was wrong. But do I want to really say that to the public at that level? No. Let me double down. So here's what it means. When you go and do tariffs, Trump did, you better be right.
You're damn right.
When you go out there and your name is Musk and they say Trump was an Epstein, you better be right and you better show the receipts.
Yeah.
When you go up there and you better bring it up, right? You better be right. That is the part. You better be right. All the criticism right now of Reza Pahlavi, what I've been saying lately, I've gotten the most weirdest calls, people all the way up from the White House to people who are against it, for it, meetings. Hey, I want to have flying. I want to have can we have the meeting? All this stuff, right? He's our guy. Okay? Rob, do you have this clip of one guy that posted stuff? I'm trying to see if I have it. I can't even find it. But if you go on Twitter and if you just go on my account, Rob, and you see on one post that I put up, and go a little bit lower if you could, because I keep thinking we've done podcasts like 2 days ago. We haven't done it for a while. Go a little bit lower. Keep going. Right there, okay? So I post this comment, and then click on go to the bottom and look at some of the pictures that comes up. Go a little bit lower. Oh, you should see these memes. They're hilarious, right? Keep going. They should be, okay, boom. The mullah's bottom. Yeah, I'm bought by mullahs for sure. Right?
I didn't even say off.
The mullah's bottom. I'm sold because mullahs are sponsoring this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by mullahs. That's for sure our biggest sponsors that we got. Go a little bit lower, right? And you'll see these different pictures with me on turbans. It's actually funny when I watch it. And there's one of them of flushing down the. Go back up. I want to play this clips for these folks to realize how little this bothers me. Go back a little bit. Just go back to the recent post. Rob, just go on that. Yeah, there you go. So go to the one above it, the one that I put up that's no, go back, Rob. Yeah, go up one tweet right there. That tweet right there, click on that. It's probably going to be in this section on the bottom. Go a little bit lower and see if this shows up. Okay, go a little bit lower, lower, lower. Keep going, keep going. Okay, what's this one say? No, what's this one say?
Money whore.
Patrick Bet David. Okay, keep going. Mech. I don't even know what mech is, by the way. Keep going a little bit lower. Go a little bit lower. What's this one say? Patrick Bet before the recent sponsorship agreement. He's afterwards.
What sponsorship?
That's it. But this tells you how powerful AI is. Go a little bit lower, by the way. Go a little bit lower, little bit lower, little bit lower. See if there's anything else. There's one that that one right there. Watch this one. Flushing down the toilet. That's the power of AI, right? Okay, so
oh wow, look at you.
The power that they've built is amazing. But here's what I will tell you.
Blood on the toilet.
Okay, here's what I will tell you. To all these people who are offended that I called out your candidate, Reza Pahlavi. This is, we want constitutional monarchy is what we want in Iran. No problem. Reza says, maybe a democracy. Great. Why do people still call him crown prince? You can say no longer monarchy. It's not going to work in Iran, right? He's got 79% approval rating. Really? Yeah. 79% of he does in Iran. He has 79% approval rating. If he does, why do we not see people in the streets of millions of people? Do you guys realize Khomeini was in France for 15 years? And millions of people in the streets went out there protesting at a time where Khomeini was handing out tapes. You got YouTube, X, videos go viral much faster. He did it with tapes. Millions went on the streets. How come millions are not in the streets for Reza Pahlavi? By the way, I am so comfortable being wrong if all of a sudden millions go protesting saying they want this guy. Go. Let me challenge you. Go do it. That's not how it works. What a cold-hearted person you are. No. The reality of it is the fact that when you make claims like that you're going to go out there and 79% approval rating in Iran. Show us with action. Show us with numbers. But here's the point where I'm going to with the conversation of Candace. Sometimes when you make claims, you better be right. And it doesn't mean you have to be right 100% of the time. You have to be right 60, 70% of the time. Some more, some less. But when you're doubling down and doubling down and doubling down and doubling down and doubling down, you better be right. Musk better be right with Epstein. Trump better be right with tariffs. And he's showing numbers. He's bringing the receipts. I wrote a letter. I contacted two people who used to work for Reza Pahlavi for 7 years. They were from France. They came and visited me 2014, 2015. I went back and looked at the email, and there's a picture of me and Reza Pahlavi. We had a meeting in D.C. for 3 hours. And I'm sitting there having a conversation with them, and I wrote a 10-page letter. I finally found the letter. Both of you guys read the letter.
All of it.
And I pulled up the email.
Absolutely.
When was the email that was sent out?
2011? Wait.
What was the exact?
It was over a decade ago. I want to say 10 or 11 years ago.
I want to know when.
2013, I believe.
Guys, it was Nazila and another man named Reza. Who came and met with me. I just want to know when the letter was sent. Oh, okay, there we go.
Could I guess? No, was it November?
March. Can you read the date? What's the date there?
The date on this email is March 21st, 2015. I was wrong.
March 21st, 2015. How thorough was it about what I would do if I was him?
Well,
how thorough was the letter?
Thorough,
incredibly.
But what was amazing was every single thing that you're saying today about this entire situation, you were saying it and giving recommendations to the T that many years ago. And I was shocked that you even found that you remember that you even wrote this.
I thought it was politically astute. I thought it was a very well-crafted, a kind of a how to engage the situation. This was not a short tweet, with some opinion on social media. This was, after meeting them live, a well-thought-out summary, because you are a proud American, but you also have a heart for your heritage and a heart for the people that are yearning for freedom.
Yeah. It's crazy. One of the biggest criticism I've ever gotten. Rob, can you type in Patrick Bet David painting dead mentors? Type in, this is the same people that are saying Mullah, Hezbollah, all this stuff. They're clueless about what they're talking about. Go to images if you could, Rob. Go to images. This is a painting I have in my house. It's a 15-foot painting. And guess who's sitting right in the middle? Zoom in a little bit. You know who that is sitting right in the middle?
His dad.
Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. That's who's sitting right in the middle. Me in the back, Tupac, Senna, a bunch of different guys. We're debating 2 books on the table, Communist Manifesto and Atlas Shrugged, right? The moral of the story is this. Reza Pahlavi may be a nice guy. I've been trying to encourage him and help him out on the back end as much as I could for over a decade. But the reality of it is, this man's had 46 years. And the Iranian people that keep supporting him and waiting for that miracle to happen of a constitutional monarchy and getting in the way of actual Iranians in Iran who really know what's going on the most, you remind me of Jeb Bush voters. When Jeb Bush on day one got $140 million and Trump called out Jeb, oh, yeah, you're definitely going to be the one that's going to get the job done. Yeah, you're definitely going to get.
Oh, yeah, you're real tough.
And then people started cursing Trump out. You're a con man. All you care about is money and all this other stuff. He ended up being right. He was right. And I hope I'm wrong. So to all the Iranian romanticizers of Reza Pahlavi that he's going to go out and bring the freedom to you, I hope I'm wrong. I'm telling you right now, I hope I'm wrong. And I hope you guys get on the streets. I hope you go and say, screw this guy. Let us show unification. Go. Play this clip in all your telegrams. And say, این پدرسگ ببین چی میگن پادکست داره من فکر میکنم که همش پول از sponsorship میاد. Go say it to each other and go show in the streets. Go show up. Go show up in LA. Go show up in Chicago. Go show up in New York. Go show up in Miami. Go show up in Dallas. Go. I know you're all over the place. I talk to you when you run into me. Go show up if you really want to see what happens in Iran. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it. Do it this week. By the way, time is ticking. It's over. The biggest chance you had, gone. What's the next one you're waiting for? What are you waiting for? For Daddy Trump to come out and take out Khamenei or something like that? What are you waiting for? What's next for you? Go ahead. Send some more posts. I'm loving it. You're entertaining the hell out of me. But you guys better be right about your candidate. You better be right about your candidate. You better be right about your candidate. And I hope he's able to do what you think he's able to do. I hope he is. And I'm the only one right now that's going out there publicly that's saying it like this, and I'm getting all the, what do you call it? The arrows and, this mother, the narcissist, traitor, Iranian, آمریکایی، این اصلا ایرانی هم نیست. این آسوری بدرمنی اسم بداوید مگه جویش نه. Okay, keep saying it. I'm loving it because you're talking to each other about it. But there's a small percentage of you, 25% of the romanticizers. You know what they're saying when they're seeing it? Here's what they're saying. ببین, this guy got a point. 46 سال دیگه چی شده؟ You want to wait another 10 years? 10 سال؟ 20 سال؟ چی میخوایم بکنیم؟ Oh, really? No. The 25% is with some brass talk to the 75%ers. I'm not expecting 60% of you to flip at all. You're fully committed to this. And I understand it's a dream. Trust me, I get it. Mehr Bishishom is when I was born. I understand. I used to go to Park Shahanshahi. And my dad and I, best memories, Shahanshahi. We go to Bandar Pahlavi. My entire family's from Bandar Pahlavi from my mother's side. You guys know Bandar Pahlavi? They don't call it Bandar Pahlavi anymore. 20 miles outside of Izzat Rash. My dad used to work at Karaj in a Jian, driving a Renault with all the pecans. Go to a restaurant called Rouge, Jam Hospital, Nader Shah, School Gulbenkian. This is Iran, okay? And you guys keep, he's the guy. And Khamenei's like, oh, keep doing that. I love this. And you know what they just announced in Iran right now? What? You know what they just officially said you can't use in Iran? Starlink. Did you hear about this? A day ago. Rob, did you get the story? I think I sent it to you. Watch this one here. Iran Observer, breaking news. Iranian parliament banned the use of Starlink and its possession is now criminalized.
Even having it.
Watch this. Rob, can you go type in on ChatGPT, what is the punishment for having Starlink? Look what's going on in Iran right now. What is the punishment? And Iranians had the biggest opportunity they had the last 46 years. Biggest opportunity they had the last 46 years. Possession, purchase, or sale of unauthorized leads to 6 months to 2 years in prison, plus fines, and even flogging under the new legislation.
That means beating you.
That
with
means
a
beating
stick.
you publicly.
Yeah.
Importing or manufacturing more than 10 units carries a harsher penalty of 5 to 10 years imprisonment. Additionally, laws classify collaborating with the enemy states as a capital offense, although this applies to activities like drone support and cyber attacks. Go a little bit lower, Rob. They have the summary in a very clear way. Right there, you see it. And by the way, collaborating with hostile states, look what it says right there. Death penalty. Just have Starlink. What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? For the world to actually hear other messages that are coming in, to the Iranian people that are in Iran. I said different names last time. I'm not supporting anybody. I'm not supporting Narges. I'm not supporting anybody. I'm supporting the people. The people of Iran who are the ones that are really paying the price for this, who are the ones that want their kids' dreams to become a reality, yet they're afraid for their kids to go on the streets and protest. That's the pain I understand. To the people that have had a job, respectfully, I don't know if Reza Pahlavi has ever had a job. I don't know if he's ever had to work for anything. Nice guy, but it's a very different lifestyle. He doesn't relate to the average person in Iran that's gone through challenges to get a job and make money. I'm getting a little bit tougher here because I'm seeing how the response is being as well. And I'm not a guy that's going to be sitting here scared. Oh, my God, keep your mouth shut, you mother, does nothing to me. Nothing. And eventually, either you're going to be right or I'm going to be right. The difference is I'm very comfortable being wrong. But I in this entire instance, my care isn't for Iranians living outside of Iran. My care isn't for Iranians living in Australia. My biggest sympathy goes to the Iranians living in Iran who are going through this right now. That's hard. That's annoying. I lived in Iran 11 years. I've said this many times. I don't want to sound like a broken record. After the revolution until 1989. It sucks. It's tough. Your mom, your dad, they're scared. It's very challenging. It's different. I sympathize with the Iranian people. And there's enough. You know what happens, Vinny, when a person can't dream anymore? You know why my fire comes from where it comes from? I got 4 kids. Last night we're sitting there, I watch his 2 beautiful girls, and I'm telling them about what Brooke is turning into, what Bailey is turning into. I'm watching Daniel Dante, little Leo who smiles the moment he wakes up in the morning. Even the Ethan and Gabriel that are here. This is our family. My nephew, my niece, Sean and Grace, whom I love, absolutely love them. I'm so proud of them. That's what I think about. I want their dreams to become a reality. When I'm seeing Rob posting videos when he's out there in New York with his son with awesome hair. Rob and his son have the same identical hair. I love seeing the fact that Rob is able to sell the dream to these guys. It excites me. I get excited about that. Can you imagine how many kids in Iran, they have a dream, they can't have it? Are you like, as a parent, you know how painful that is? 92 million, of which what percentage are parents? Say 30%. You mean to tell me as a parent I have to look at my kid and say, son, that dream of yours cannot become a reality? I can't do that. That's what hurts me. And I'm not okay with that. And for me, for somebody to sit there and keep campaigning and not providing results, stop it already. Stop it. No company keeps a CEO over and over again and they keep saying, this year we're going to provide results. This year we're going to provide results. No, you're either fired or go be an advisor. Make up your mind of what you want to do. Step aside, because the most important people here aren't the ones that are showing up and they're doing fundraising, and then you have sanctions so you can't send money to Iran. The people that are really paying the price for this are the Iranian people that live in Iran. I'm going to stop on this one and move on. But all I'm saying to you is, the reality, this whole thing got started with Candace, and some of the people are saying, Ma Donald Trump to America nemikhwaim. Barای اینکه Donald Trump is a con man, real estate agent that is never going to be welcome in America. You are lucky if you had a Donald Trump in America, in Iran. You would be lucky if you had Donald Trump in Iran. Somebody who has a backbone to fight. You'd be the luckiest people if you had Donald Trump in Iran. And I know, trust me, I know a lot of the Iranian leftists who are Mossadegh and Reza Pahlavi was a terrible man and he's not his father Reza Khan and all this other. I get it. I get that community as well that want to bring together all the Iranian liberal Hollywood leftists and go and do their own things and they're going to just strengthen the Hezbollahs. I understand that as well. I understand all the arguments. But the world will be a better place if Iran was at peace, growing, open economy, law and order, the right constitution, people can dream, they can travel, they get along with their neighbors, the world will be a better place. And sometimes in life we're wrong, and I'm very comfortable being wrong. I say this to my kids, to my wife, to the people I work with. Sometimes you think you have a decision that's going to be the right thing to do, and long term it ends up hurting a lot of different people. In this instance, the people that matter the most are the parents and the families that are living in Iran. Anyways, I just wanted to get that. Adam.
What, just number one, respect for you just putting in how you feel out there. If there's anything you can say about PBD, he's going to let you know exactly how he feels. Like it or not, that's how PBD feels. And we see that in private conversations as well as publicly. Just real quick, if I can put a ribbon on this whole conversation, because it started with Candace, and it went to this conversation about Shah Reza Pahlavi. But to use your analogy, you called it being on tilt, right? There's another term about don't throw good money after bad money. And if you see what's happening in Iran right now, this is why I think that the Iranian people in Iran have a matter of weeks to basically figure this out, is because how much money just went down the tubes in terms of ROI and bad investments when the Iran nuclear capabilities just went up in smoke? How much money? They're saying over $1 trillion. So if you're a company and you're putting in seed capital, you're private equity, and you're an angel investor, you say, all right, guys, we're going to have a good ROI. We want to get 10%, 20%, 50%. We're going to have a return on our investment. Iran just spent how many years? 2 decades building up their nuclear capabilities, and it all just went up in smoke. And now what they're doing is essentially doubling down on the threats and still talking trash, and also still saying that they're going to rebuild their nuclear program. They're saying no Starlink. What's the prison that they talk about in PBD where all the dissidents go to? This Evan prison or something?
Evan prison, yes. By the way, you
They're
heard about
basically
what
saying
happened?
there's this, there's like purge of Evan prison. And so basically all their money has basically been bombed and up in smoke, and they're doubling down. So speaking of doubling down, just to kind of put this all together, Candace, when she's talking about, certain critiques of Israel, AIPAC has too much control. You know what? Maybe she's right. I don't understand what we're doing. Maybe Bibi Netanyahu has a little too much influence over Congress. Well, maybe she's right. But where you run into a problem is where she is exactly right now. Like the poll about how Gen Z, a weird number, support Iran versus Israel. Where you run into this problem is when there's a clear distinction of what's right and wrong. So, for example, I don't know, Israel, Palestinians, I don't know who's right, who's wrong. When it comes to Israel and Iran, there's no debate here. There's one that says they love America and the one that says death to America. You see all over the internet now, there's this song, bomb, 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 Iran, bomb, 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 Iran. Have you heard this? Have you guys heard this song?
No.
So they keep saying, like the Beach Boys song, from Barbara Ann,
Got it.
Bomb Iran. All right, do you think that's a new song? They made, want to know when they made that song? In 1980, during the hostage crisis, under Jimmy Carter. Was it not under PBD, under Carter?
Yes.
So this is all coming back full circle to recognize Iran is America's enemy. And whether you like Israel or not, they're America's ally. So when you have 22% of Gen Z that thinks Iran is a better friend to America than Israel versus 41%, what the hell are we doing? But here's my biggest problem. Gen Z, Iran, favor Iran, 22%. Israel, 41%. Unsure, 37%. I'm not mad at the people that love Iran. I'm not upset with people who love Israel. You live in America, and you're unsure who's our ally and who's our enemy, Israel and Iran. This is why I'm not joking when I say that Gen Z needs re-education camps, because they're ending up hating in America, and then you have a guy like Zohran Mamdani become the mayor of New York City. It's a bizarre world right now.
Here's what's great about time, okay? Here's what's great about time. Time reveals everything, okay? Yesterday we're talking, and this is a question for everybody to be thinking about. How long do you think you can be manipulated? 1 day? 1 month? Who's capable of being manipulated? 100% of us are all capable of being manipulated. But maybe for a day, maybe for a month. You're in a relationship. I would never do anything with him. We just went to Vegas because he's my best friend. I even think he's gay. You go to Vegas 6 times in 6 months, and then you eventually realize the dude is not gay. But you eventually figure it out. Manipulated for a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. Some people even manipulated for 50, 60 years. The feminist movement, there's a lot of 70-year-olds in the world that don't have any kids, never been married because they bought into the feminist movement.
And regret
They're
it.
miserable today. And what's that, Tom?
They regret it.
Regret it.
And regret it, yeah. That's manipulation. So everything that's going on today, time is going to tell what part of it was right. Guy asked me a question this morning. Well, let me tell you what's going on with Israel and all. And the reason why they don't like Bibi and all this, I said, listen, I get that. You have to also realize, dude, you don't walk on water. There's a lot of bad things that you guys did, the mistakes that you made that you can't claim you're the best intelligence and at the same time screwed up royally the way that you have. But at the same time, that doesn't mean all of it goes 100% against those guys. Anyways, by the way, when you're talking about the Evan prison, I thought you were going in the direction where the Evan prison's director, Hedayatollah Farzadi, fled the actual prison while the attacks were being made because somebody called him and he was like on the run. I don't know if you guys saw this one or not. Is that the one, Rob, the story?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a whole different thing. We don't need to get into it, but this guy ran off because somebody told him about his sons and what's going on with that.
I think it was Israel that called him.
Yeah, I thought
Israel called him and said, you have like 10 minutes to vacate the premises. We're going to blow you up.
Yes, I thought
And he
that's
took the opportunity.
direction you were going. Vinny, I'm going to come to a story that's yours. J.K. Rowling, okay? J.K. Rowling post this yesterday, okay? They got 210,000 likes. Here is Stephen Ireland, who targeted me with endless abuse on here because I oppose the chemical castration of children and the removal of protected spaces for women and girls, has just been sentenced to 30 years in jail for child rape. Watch this. First, click on a tweet on the left, Rob, if you could. And by the way, J.K. Rowling wrote the book, what do you call it?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, right? Okay. How to Ruin a Legacy. Become a TERF. This is towards J.K. Very disappointing, J.K. What happens when women enter menopause? What about women who had hysterectomies? Women who don't menstruate because of hormonal issues. Are they not women? Nothing you say stops trans women from being women. Now go to the next tweet. Right there. Okay, watch this. Pride group founder jailed for rape of 12-year-old boy. A man has been jailed for 24 years for raping an extremely vulnerable 12-year-old boy after the pair met on a dating app. This is just creepy at the highest level. Vinny, your thoughts on the story?
I mean, I just, when are we going to stop pretending? And I want to say this from the beginning. If you're gay, I don't give a damn, okay? I have gay friends. We have gay people that work at our company. I have gay cousins. We love them. But this freaking community, the LGBTQ plus A, all that stuff, when are we going to stop pretending that there aren't some really sick, disgusting people in that community? This is just one example. I just go gays for groom, bro. Like, it is unbelievable. I had a list. It was a ridiculous list of all the stuff that's happening. Even this guy Alex Rosen, they are catching like people in this community trying to meet up with 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Just this past weekend, it was the last day of the Pride month. They had kids in Colorado. Rob, I think they blurred everybody's face. You could probably look it up. Dancing on stripper poles. Like, it was a line of children. And yes, the parents are effed up. You know, to hell with them too. But what, Rob, is this the one? What type of community is cool with underage boys and girls, for that matter, stripping on stripper poles in front of adults? What community thinks it's cool for kids to go dress in drag and dance in front of a bunch of grown-ass men who are sitting there staring at them? When are we going to stop pretending that it's not a freaking problem? Okay? Enough is enough. And it's always the loudest voices. This dude's talking shit about J.K. Rowling. He just did what he did with a 12-year-old. Okay? Enough is enough. Okay? Let's admit that the gay community is chilling. All this other shit, all this trans, all this, it's making that type of behavior okay. And the moment you say something, Pat, the moment you try to criticize, they blanket you with the, you hate, you're homophobic. No, I'm not scared. That not one gay person scares me like, oh, homophobic. That's horse shit. Okay, it's horse shit. All that trans shit, all that I'm gender fluid, it gives them a pass to act like freaks. Okay? And again, they always push that shit on your kids because everybody in that community doesn't procreate. Okay? Since they can't have any kids, they're coming for your kids. That's how they multiply. And I get pissed off of this shit because you guys know where I stand. It's the kids, Pat. Whether it's the kids, that are suffering in Iran or the kids that are suffering here or the Epstein Island kids or the kids at the border and the 350,000 missing, nobody gives a shit about them. Okay? And if you say anything about this community, you're labeled as hating all of them. And I think that's a bullshit, weak argument. Okay? We have to start calling it out because that's the attitude that we're seeing. A 12-year-old, that kid's life is absolutely ruined. And this isn't a small case. It's happening every single day. I see this shit in the news and they don't report it. And it drives me crazy.
And I'll go add one more thing here. I'm only going to call this guy 90% at fault. The other 10% is, what the hell is a 12-year-old boy doing with a mobile phone and a dating app? Where are the parents? Or is this child in foster care without proper custodianship? What is going on with this 12-year-old boy who is actually on the dating app where he could be, deceived and subject to the predatorial activities and the false affinity and the false liking and things that go on there that when they talk about the way that they go after the kids is to befriend them and to make them feel like, oh, you're normal, no one else is here. What on earth is going on that this 12-year-old is here? This is why parents, the first line of defense is you, parents. The first line of defense is no. We get forced into, in the financial services industry, a lot of extra training, which is necessary under a thing called KYC, know your customer. And we take courses on it.
I thought you were going somewhere.
Keep going. KYC.
No. It's know your customer, and it's anti-money laundering and know your customer and training so people don't get deceived in financial fraud. And they show you all the ways it could happen. If parents are not out there finding out exactly what and how can happen on phones, and they are taking steps so that their child can be in contact with them at school, after school athletics, need a phone, need communication, need to do that, but you also need to be aware of what's on there and be that first line of defense. So I put 10% on the parents or the foster system or whoever was out here because people, and it may not be a parent. Adam is an amazing uncle to a nephew, and I know for a fact that they've had conversations about these kind of things, about staying safe and who do you associate with and what do you do. The first line of defense is you.
That's 100% true on what happens. There's an old clip by a guy that was interviewed. I'm sure many of you have seen it if you watch the PBD podcast. If you're newer, maybe you haven't seen it. A pedophile is being interviewed. You know which one I'm talking about.
Oh, this one bothers
me. Pedophile is being interviewed, and he explains who his target is. And Rob, if you can pull this up, he shares exactly who his target is. And Rob, go ahead and play this clip here. I'm trying to go to the part with what he says. Go ahead.
Lonely kids.
Watch this.
Oh, my gosh.
Get them alone.
Grooming. I would check out their family situation. I would check out their clothing to see how well they were, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. When we were on the ballparks or on the gym floor, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else.
Until this gets 8 billion views, it's not enough.
Aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody. And it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. It is a direct form of grooming.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. for the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into believing, grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
Do you know how many parents I've shared this video with? Not enough.
Look at this couch.
Not
What the
enough.
hell is it? What's the pattern? Cigars on your...
By the way, you know how old this interview is, Rob? Can you find when this interview was? What's the guy's name? He was 12 years in prison, molesting children in the 80s. By the way, this is a very old interview. This is not a new interview like it happened last week. This is a very, very old interview, what happened with him. But he's sharing his insights on what happened, and people have to pay attention to. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to go to this next one here for you to think about. Some companies thought it was good to jump on a bandwagon of LGBTQ because they thought the market really wanted it. And when you think about Jaguar, what do you think about? You think about a high-end car. Jaguar's a sick car. So watch
British car that leaks oil.
Yeah. So watch what the market said about their ad. Rob, you can play this ad. We don't have to watch the whole thing because we don't want to disturb the audience, but you can play a little bit for them to see it. And go ahead, play the clip. Watch this, folks. This is the ad that Jaguar did, thinking you're going to go buy a Jaguar.
Parental discretion is advised.
No, literally. They did this ad thinking, they approved it. They didn't do it. A marketing company did it. But they did this with the intention of thinking it would cause you to go want to buy. Look at this.
And wait for the car. Pat, you ready for this? Guys, just wait for the vehicle. Ready for Jaguar's newest vehicle? Ready? Here it comes. Okay. And...
No car.
No car,
right?
just a rock.
No, seriously. So you see this? Watch what this does.
I thought Iraq was a country.
Jaguar sales. Rob, do you have a video clip on what it says it did or no?
I don't. That was just that video.
I got you. Jaguar sales collapses 97% in Europe amid controversial rebrand and EV translation. This is the Economic Times. British luxury car maker Jaguar experienced a 97.5% sales collapse in Europe, with only 49 vehicles registered for sale in April of 2025 compared to 1961 last year, okay, the previous year, and a 75.1% year-to-date drop of 2,665 cars sold from January to April following a controversial rebrand launch in November 2024. The rebrand, part of Jaguar Land Rover's shift, is fully electric, ultra-luxury brand by 2025, featured androgynous models, slogans like copy nothing and live vivid, and a claw-like logo drawn criticism from Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who stated abandoning its core identity. The rebrand minimalist campaign aimed at a younger, diverse audience coincided with Jaguar's discontinuing most internal combustion models, leaving a product gap as its new EV, including a $200,000 four-door GT due late 2025, is not yet available. Competing automakers like BMW, Audi, and EV sales rise by 32.4% and 50.4% respectively in the same quarter, while Jaguar, lacking new models since 2023, has left showrooms nearly empty. Empty. Vinny, your thoughts on this?
I mean, when we talk about California and how they pick their leadership, when we talk about New York and how you guys are not getting it and not adjusting and shifting, this is the same thing that happened with Jaguar. As if they didn't get the biggest case study in the history of trying to push this LGBTQ shit down somebody's throat with Bud Light. How much money did Bud Light lose having Dylan Mulvaney, a dude still with his testicles and all of his man parts, pretending to be a woman, telling grown men, telling Americans, you guys know the dynamic who drinks Bud Light. It's the Shane Gillis and it's all those guys. Pushing that to have them drink beer and use that, and they lost how many trillion, Rob? Because of Dylan Mulvaney, they lost $1.4 billion. Okay, Dana White and now Shane Gillis.
By the way, that's sales. Market value, they lost $27 billion.
Oh, I'm sorry. The company lost $27 billion because of one decision. And I remember the marketing girl who was sitting there. She had a freaking rainbow behind her. Okay, when are people going to get it? Guys, when I was drinking and making stupid decisions and everything, thank God I adjusted. I shifted gears, and I pray for people that are going through it that you can find it out and figure out why am I making these horrible decisions? Why is everything falling apart in my life? Oh, it's the drinking. Okay, let me, with the help of my friends and family and Pat and Adam, all you guys, let me adjust. Let me go to church. Let me go talk to people that have been through it. I don't understand, Tom, and maybe you could help me. all these people that are just clinging to this small minority group that is not only doing the stuff that we saw with the 12-year-old boy, when it comes to companies still bowing down to the small freaking group as if it's going to work. We just saw, and it's an old one, a Jaguar commercial that didn't show me the car. Show me the car at the beginning. Have all those freaking psychos inside of it, but show me the car. They're still clinging on to it. I'm so happy that we're kind of, especially during Trump with the military and Pete Hegseth and everything, that it's kind of dwindling away, but the small group, that small minority is still hanging on. And as a business, I don't understand it, but good for you. Good for you. You deserve everything that you're going to get if you keep hanging on to the stupid image and the stupid ass ideology that you think that little group is gonna save your cars. Bull poo.
I got something for you.
Well said. When the minority speaks for the majority, you get consequences, and these are business consequences here. This is a minority attempting to push its viewpoints on the majority, and it backfiring spectacularly. 2 months ago, I double-checked, and the Jaguar USA website has no reference to the new logo or the things that are in this ad. They basically said, turn that thing off. And it went back to the old, I saw it was the old Jaguar, the old logo, everything on the US website. And going to Bud Light, you had a marketing VP. Now your job as a marketing VP is saying, hey, how can we get more middle-aged moms to appreciate Bud Light because it has less calories? How can we get more people to appreciate our products? That's called market share expansion. That's called your job. However, when you sit there and you say, well, I think the market was just too fratty, and remember that was a word she used, fratty. So I'm not saying allegedly, I'm saying you used the word fratty in a statement that many people, including me, found to be, in terms of marketing, completely inept. And you determined that with Dylan Mulvaney, you would go out and chase this other market, but you basically imploded the presence you had with your existing market. That's what Jaguar did. They went to chase a new market and they imploded everything. Look, this has been going on in marketing and advertising for a while, where in the echo chamber of marketing thought, which contains a lot of people and lifestyles that do not, look, Madison Avenue advertising, the people that are there are good at their jobs and they're great, but they also recognize that by and large, the lifestyle that's in the advertising industry is different from the core market, but they respect it. There are those who respect it and go out and market to get mass adoption. In other words, do your job for the company. Others believe that they now have an opportunity to be political activists under the banner. So the irony, capitalism gave them their foundation and their stage to go state their case, and people voted no. And I like to know the 3% in England had actually bought the Jaguar. Yeah. You're going to stick out.
Yeah,
so it's like,
big time.
But that's it. Capitalism was working, and then they used the stage that capitalism gave them for Bud Light and Jaguar of decades of success. And they went out there and say, on the stage of capitalism, I'm changing it, until, guess what? They got the middle finger from the consumer.
Good.
Adam, your thoughts before we wrap up.
Sure. So, everyone has a base. Any politician has a base. Any company has a base. Trump has the MAGA base. Bernie Sanders has the progressive base. Who is the base of Jaguar, you may ask? So it's British luxury. I feel like it's like Sean Connery, 007, James Bond style. And it's just been completely hijacked by the LGBTQ rainbow mafia. So there's symbolism here. There's a metaphor here. Anytime I hear the word London, it's almost like it's Canada. London's fallen. I'll tell you, like London Bridge is falling down, the song we all knew as kids. Anyone I talk to who's in Canada, Canada's just a mess. It's fallen. London's a mess. It's fallen. So does it surprise you that the #1 luxury car in the UK, in London, has gone the way of the LGBTQ mafia? So they say know your audience or don't abandon your audience. You ever seen the stat of the Fortune 500 companies that are no longer in the Fortune 500? Yes. I think since 1980, only 10% of the Fortune 500 companies that were in it then are still in it now. Why are they no longer there? It's because they failed to maybe innovate. They didn't recognize change soon enough, or some of them just didn't avoid catastrophic mistakes. This is a catastrophic mistake by Jaguar. And it might lead to bankruptcy. It might lead to being insolvent. And if you think that's not going to happen to you, I started my financial career when Lehman Brothers, when Bear Stearns, some of the biggest financial institutions in the world are no longer with us. So there's no guarantee that your company is going to be here tomorrow. And Jaguar, unfortunately, might be the latest example of a massive company that goes the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah, and those are good points that all three of you made. Capitalism is very honest. If you forget the customer, they have plenty of other places to go to. Very simple. Especially your loyal customers. They have many, many options. And going back to everybody, we appreciate you guys that you watch. I just got the strangest text right now that maybe I'll talk about on the next podcast. Very weird text message I just got right now. Jen's texting me. I just showed it to you. I'll talk to Rob. But I'll talk to you guys about it next on Thursday when we do the live podcast. Gang, a couple things again. Remember, merch, 4th of July, sport the gear. First 50 that placed the order over $400 will be FaceTiming you. Everybody else, go get a Future Looks Bright hat, shirt, gear, family, friends, best friends. Get the order, send it to them, give them a gift. Let's spread the messaging of Future Looks Bright because I fully believe it does. And that level of optimism is there, whether it's good times, bad times, ugly times. And we're convinced 2026 will be a very special year as we're getting into it. Having said that, love you guys. We'll do this again Thursday. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. See you later, PBD.
Yep.